Hello, guys, and welcome you all. I hope my skin is visible to all. Guys, we are waiting for more participants to join this webinar so they don't miss out anything. Till that time, I'm sharing our social media platform link and our communities link. So, guys, go and follow our social media platform link. We will start the webinar in a few minutes. Okay, let's start the webinar. Hello and welcome to all in this webinar on DP-203, Azure Data Engineering. Myself, Archie this said, I'm host for this webinar. Please note that me and my team there to help out through this webinar. If you have any question or queries related to this webinar, uh, ask your question on chat window for that. Moving ahead and talking about our event sponsor, that is Synergetics. So Synergetics is an India one of kind co-porting learning solution company. So now you will get a question like who we are and what we doing. So answering your question, we browse through our offering and also give comprehensive advisory service to client and who wish to modernize their framework. Also, we educate, advise, and implement and manage. Then the Synergetics learning solution offering, that is a persona-based onboarding solution, onboarding add-on solution, a certification solution, certification add-on solution, reskilling solution, emerging technology training solution, certification hackathon solution, cloud adoption solution, latest technology training solution, sales pre-sales training solution, practice playbook solution, and architecting solution. What this Microsoft certification training does, it will give you complete learning experience. You will get trained and build confidence to appear for the exam, and you will get certified, that is get recognized. This is delivery methodology. Here you can see the three type of delivery methodology. First one is guided self-learning. You can see this is a journey part. You can see we provide advanced certification at minimum cost. Second is blended learning. Third is instructor-led learning. First, you have to complete fundamental certification, then you can go with the advanced level certification training. Here you can see the benefit of getting certified. You will shift unstructured learning to structured learning, build competitive advantage, adding profit to the business, and in hacking brand reputation. Here you can advance yourself. This is a skilling journey of Microsoft certification training. Uh, you first you have to complete fundamental certification, then you go with the advanced role based certification, and after that you will go with the expert level certification. In this fundamental certification, we provide you AZ 900, AI 900, DP 900, PL 900, and SC 900 certification. In this role-based certification, we provide you AZ104, AZ204, PL200, SC200. Here you can see on my screen. In this expert level certification, we provide you AZ305, SC100, PL600, and AZ400. A certification offering will help you to increase your visibility, expand your knowledge and skills. Also, we provide you certification add-on and onboarding add-on like short duration modules and more. And today training is organized and handled by ATC community. So our ATC community is open to all the people who are interested in our cloud technology and various emerging technology. Under this ATC community, we have emerging technology community for all, Azure Tech community for Punekars, emerging technology community for Suratkars, Azure Tech community for Nagpur. Guys, just you have to install the Meetup app on your device or on your phone, and there you can follow our communities. Then you have to follow code of conduct, which will create a respectful environment for all the participants. Please note that participants are not allowed to take screenshot of the webinar and cannot do screen recording. We will try to upload this training on our official YouTube channel. Then our speaker for this training is Misha. He is a Microsoft certification trainer and currently work with Synergetics as a trainer consultant. Agenda for this webinar, you will get to know more about this topic and benefits of it. In this session, we provide you learning achievement badge. Here you can see on my screen, just you have to follow the step and you will get a activated badge. We already shared this link on our chat box. So guys, go and redeem your badge. In this month, we are coming with the Gen AI Spark webinar series. Interested participants register themselves. Please note that registration is mandatory to all of us. Here you can see the date, timing, and topic, whichever what is conducted. Follow us on all our social media platform like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube for relevant update and upcoming webinars. Thank you, participants. Now I would like to hand over this mic our speaker, Misha. He will continue ahead.
Thank you, Archie. All right, guys. So let's start our webinar. As Archie mentioned, my name is Smith Shah, and I will be your mentor for the today's webinar. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I have been teaching data science technology since the past 5 years. And I have taught in many institutes, including LTI, CTS Tech, Decimal Point Analytics, Prolifics, and many more. All right, so that was just a brief introduction about me. Now let's go ahead and let's start our webinar for today. So what I will do first is I will just share my screen. Okay. I hope my screen is visible to all. And let me just check myself. Okay, I can see it's visible to all. Fine. So let's go ahead. So as you know, guys, our today's webinar is on DP-203. So our main focus today is to cover labs on DP-203. As per our schedule, we are supposed to cover 4 labs. If we get time, we'll cover more than 4 as well. But our main agenda for today is to cover 4 labs of DP203. Fine, let's go ahead. So for those of you who are completely new to DP203, let me explain you about what this certification is all about. Let me first expand the sticky note over here. Okay. Fine. So guys, DP203 certification talks about how you can implement data engineering in Azure. I'll mention it over here in my notes. At the end of today's webinar, I will also share my notes with you guys. Okay, so whatever notes I'm making during the webinar, those notes will be shared to you as well. So guys, DP203 certification talks about how we can use or we can implement data engineering. We can implement data engineering on the Azure cloud platform. On the Azure cloud platform. So if you guys are wondering what is data engineering, let me explain that as well. So for those of you who are completely new to the field of data engineering, do not worry, I will explain data engineering from scratch. So here, let me give a heading for data engineering. and let me mention some notes with respect to data engineering. So what is data engineering all about? So guys, data engineering is all about designing and building systems for collecting, storing, and analyzing large sets of data. So it's a crucial part of data science world because it sets the stage for data scientists and analysts to do their work. So let me mention some of the important modules of data engineering, or should I say, the steps for performing data engineering. So the first step in data engineering is data collection and ingestion. The first step in data engineering is data collection and ingestion. So I will mention the explanation for each of these steps of data engineering. Apart from mentioning the explanation, I will also mention the use case. And during that process, if you have any doubts over any of my explanation, do let me know in the chat. I will repeat it again for you guys. Okay, so as I mentioned, the first step in data engineering is data collection and ingestion. So what does it mean? In simple words, it basically means gathering and bringing data into a system from different data sources. Talking about the use case, so let me mention the use case for it. So suppose we have a retail company that collects data from its online store, social media, and in-store transactions. So data engineers basically set up systems to continuously capture this data. So this is the first step of data engineering, which is data collection and ingestion. Moving on to the second step of data engineering, which is data storage and management. So let me talk about the second step as well, which is data storage and management. So let me mention the explanation for this over here. And guys, in between, if you have any doubt whatsoever with respect to the explanation, please let me know. So let me open up the chat side by side. Okay, if you have any doubts whatsoever, please let me know, guys. Okay, so as I said, guys, the first step in data engineering is data collection and ingestion. The second step in data engineering is data storage and management. So let me mention its explanation over here. So what do we understand by data storage and management? It basically means storing the data in a structured way so that it can be accessed and used easily. Okay, I repeat, it basically means storing the data in a structured way so that it can be accessed and used easily. Talking about the use case, so let me mention the use case of data storage and management over here. So suppose we have a hospital that stores patient records, treatment data, and research notes in a secure and organized manner, making sure that data is easily accessible and compliant with privacy regulations. So for this, the hospital would need to perform this second step over here, which is data storage and management. So that was the second step in data engineering, which is data storage and management. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the third step in data engineering. So over here in my notes, I'll just go ahead and mention the third step. So the third step in data engineering is data cleaning and transformation. So let me go ahead and let me mention its explanation over here. So what do we understand by this? So in this third step, all we do is we just make sure that the data is accurate, consistent, and in the right format for analysis. Let's talk about its use case. So where will you use this third step over here? So let's say we have a sports analytics company, something like CricBuzz or ESPN Cricinfo. Many of you might have used it, right? So suppose we have a sports analytics company that collects data from various sensors and devices. So data engineers clean and standardize this data for analysts to use in certain performance reports for athletes. So that is the third step in data engineering, which is data cleaning and transformation. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the fourth step in data engineering. So the fourth step in data engineering is data integration and orchestration. So what do we understand by this? So let me go ahead and let me mention its explanation over here. So what do we understand by data integration and orchestration? So it basically means combining data from different sources and ensuring that these data flows are managed effectively. Let's talk about its use case. So where will you use this fourth step over here? Let me talk about its use case. So suppose we have a financial services firm that integrates market data, transaction data, and customer data to create a comprehensive view of its operations. So for that, they would need this fourth step, which is data integration and orchestration. So that was the fourth step. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the fifth step. Before doing that, if any of you guys have any doubt in the first four steps of data engineering, please let me know. I hope the first four steps are clear. If there is any doubt whatsoever, you can let me know, guys. Okay. Assuming that it is clear, I'm moving ahead. But if at all you have any doubts, please feel free to mention your doubts in the chat. Okay, moving ahead, guys. So the fifth step in data engineering is data pipelines and ETL processes. Okay, I guess I have received a chat from one of the students. Let me read it out. Sai Kumar mentions, do we have demo on Snowflake? No, Sai Kumar. In this webinar, we won't have any demo on Snowflake. Okay. In fact, we won't talk about Snowflake in this webinar as it's out of the scope of this webinar. So this webinar won't be touching about the concept of Snowflake. Okay. So moving on to the fifth step in data engineering, which is data pipelines and ETL processes. So let me go ahead and let me mention that step over here, which is data pipelines and ETL processes. So over here, let me mention its explanation first of all. So what does it mean? So it basically means setting up automated processes for extraction, transformation, and loading to move and transform data. Okay, let's talk about its use case. So what is the use case of the fifth step in data engineering? I repeat, the fifth step in data engineering is called data pipelines and ETL processes. So what is the use case? So suppose we have a e-commerce company, like let's say Amazon or Snapdeal, okay, that regularly extracts data from its sales platform. It then transforms it to analyze customer behavior and loads it into a data warehouse for further analysis. So that is the fifth module of data engineering, which is data pipelines and ETL processes. Let's move on to the sixth module in data engineering, which is big data processing and analysis. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the sixth module, which is big data processing and analytics. So I'll just go ahead and first mention its explanation over here. So what does it mean? In simple words, it basically means working with very large data sets to uncover insights. So let's go ahead and let's talk about its use case over here. What is the use case of this sixth module? So suppose we have a city government, like let's say in Mumbai, we have BMC, right? So let's say we have city government that analyzes traffic and sensor data from across the city to improve traffic flow and public transportation. So that is the sixth module in data engineering, which is big data processing and analysis. Now let's go ahead and let's move on to the seventh module in data engineering. I repeat, guys, there are total 8 modules of data engineering, out of which first 6 module we just had a brief understanding about it. Moving on to the sixth module in data engineering, which is data security and compliance. So let's go ahead and let's understand about it. What do we understand by data security and compliance? It basically means protecting data from unauthorized access and ensuring that it meets legal standards. So talking about its use case, where will you use this? Let's go ahead and let's talk about the use case of this seventh module over here. So suppose we have a bank that ensures that all of its data handling practices comply with financial regulations and protect customer information from breaches. So for that, they would need this seventh module of data engineering, which is data security and compliance. Moving on to the eighth and last module of data engineering, which is data monitoring and optimization. So let's go ahead and let's talk about it. First, I will mention its explanation over here. So what does it mean? What does data monitoring and optimization mean? It basically means keeping an eye on the data system's performance and making improvements based on the performance reports. So that is what it means. Talking about its use case. So where will we use this eighth module of data engineering? So suppose we have an online streaming service. Let's say we have something like Geo Cinema or Disney Plus Hotstar, right? So suppose we have an online streaming service that monitors its user data to optimize server loads and improve viewer experiences. So for that, they would need this eighth module of data engineering, which is data monitoring and optimization. So as you can see, guys, that data engineering is the backbone that supports data-driven decision making in businesses, research, government, and many other areas. So by effectively managing and processing data, the organizations can then uncover valuable insights and make informed decisions. So you can see what is the importance of data engineering. And in this webinar, we'll be seeing how we can implement data engineering on Azure platform. And in fact, your DP-203 certification entirely revolves around this. All it talks about is how you can implement these data engineering modules on the Azure platform. There are only 8 modules of data engineering, and DP-203 certification talks about these 8 modules. Now, for each of these modules, there are different services. Some services can handle one or more modules of data engineering. Some services can only handle just one module of data engineering. Okay, so different services will be able to do different tasks of data engineering. Okay, fine. Enough for the theory. What we will do now is we'll just go ahead and we'll move on to perform labs on DP-203. Okay. So in the official documentation of DP-203 labs, the first lab talks about how you talks about exploring a service called Azure Synapse Analytics. So first of all, guys, let me talk about the services that are available in Azure that can help you to perform data engineering. Before that, all of these notes that I've written over here, let me paste it in the chat for you guys. Although just a reminder that even after the webinar ends, all of these notes will be sent to you. But till then, if you want to refer these notes that we have made, I'm just pasting it in the chat for you guys. Okay, fine. So up till now, we have talked about what is data engineering, and we know that DP-203 certification talks about how you can implement data engineering in Azure platform. Okay. So now in Azure, what are the different services that can help us to perform data engineering? So let's go ahead and let's talk about the different services available in Azure that will help you to perform data engineering. So in total, there are 7 services. Okay, so your DP-203 certification talks about 7 services that you can use in Azure for performing data engineering. So let me give a heading over here in my notes that what are the services in Azure for data engineering. There are many services, but in DP-203 certification, we only need to look at 7 services. Okay, so we'll only focus on those 7. So the first service is called Azure Data Factory. The first service available in Azure for data engineering is Azure Data Factory. So let's understand what it is. So Azure Data Factory is nothing but a cloud-based data integration service. I repeat, what is Azure Data Factory? It is nothing but a cloud-based data integration service. So let's talk about its use case. So we can use Azure Data Factory to create data-driven workflows for orchestrating and automating data movement and data transformation. For example, let's say you can use Azure Data Factory to ingest data from various sources, transform it using any other service in Azure, like let's say Azure Data Lake or Azure Databricks, and then load it into completely another service, let's say something like Azure SQL Data Warehouse for analysis. So ADF or Azure Data Factory is just a cloud-based data integration service that is used for orchestrating and automating data movement and transformation. So that is the first service that DP-203 certification talks about. What is the second service that DP-203 certification talks about? It's Azure Synapse Analytics. So the second service that we need to focus on is Azure Synapse Analytics. So let's understand what it is. So in simple words, it's basically a analytics service that brings together big data and data warehousing. I repeat, what is Azure Synapse Analytics? It is an analytics service that brings together big data and data warehousing. I think I have received a chat over here. Okay. Now over here, a student has a question. So a student has a question over here. The student mentions, how is ADF different from Azure Databricks? Okay, sure. We'll look into that question as well. For now, what I'll do, buddy, is first I will give an overview of each of these 7 services that we are focusing on in DP-203. It will just take 2 or 3 minutes. After that, we'll see the differences between each of those services. Okay, so in 2 to 3 minutes, I will try to answer your question. Okay, till then, we'll just cover the overview of each of the 7 services that you need to focus on in DP-203. The first service that we focused on is Azure Data Factory. It is a cloud-based data integration service for orchestrating and automating data movement and data transformation. The second service that we need to focus on is Azure Synapse Analytics. So it's basically an analytics service that brings together big data and data warehousing. Let's talk about its use case. So we can use Azure Synapse Analytics for large scale data storage, processing, and analytics. So it's very useful, guys, for running big data analytics, machine learning, and reporting on large data sets. So that is about Azure Synapse Analytics. Moving on to the service that one student talked about, which is Azure Databricks. So let's go ahead and let's talk about Azure Databricks. So we'll go ahead and we'll talk about Azure Databricks. So what is it? So Azure Databricks is basically a Spark based analytics platform that is optimized for Azure. I repeat, it is a Spark based analytics platform that is optimized for Azure. What is the use case? So guys, Azure Databricks is ideal for big data processing and machine learning tasks. So you can use it to process large amounts of data quickly and collaborate with others using shared notebooks. Okay, so that is about Azure Databricks. So these are the first 3 services that we have covered in uh, DP-203 certification. There are 4 more services to go. After that, we will try to cover the doubt that one student has mentioned in the chat. Till then, let me cover the remaining 4 services over here. Let me try to give an overview of the remaining 4 services. First 3 we have already covered. Let's move on to the next service, which is Azure Data Lake Storage. I repeat, the fourth service that we need to focus on is Azure Data Lake Storage. So what is it? So it is, in simple words, guys, it is a scalable and secure data lake service. I repeat, it's a scalable and secure data lake service. What is the use case? Well, you can use this service to store large volumes of data in its native format. It's often used as a staging area for data that will be processed and analyzed later. Okay, so this is the overview of Azure Data Lake Storage. Moving on to our fifth service that we need to focus on, which is Azure Stream Analytics. So let's go ahead and let's talk about our fifth service, which is Azure Stream Analytics. So what is it? So in simple words, here you try to perform real-time analytics on fast-moving streams of data. Okay. So what is the use case? So here you can process and analyze data as it arrives. This is commonly used for IoT scenarios. For example, let's say you have own a smartwatch, right? And from smartwatch, you are sending the data onto some other server. Okay. Uh, so there you can use this data. Okay, so basically it is used in scenarios where you want to process and analyze data as it arrives. So it is commonly used for IoT scenarios like analyzing data from sensors in real time. Okay, so that is the fifth service that we need to focus on in DP-203 certification. Two more to go. Let's go ahead. Let's cover its overview as well. Then we'll try to cover the doubt that is mentioned in the chat. So the next service that we need to focus on as far as DP-203 certification is concerned is called Azure SQL Database. So let's talk about what it is. So in simple words, guys, it's a fully managed relational database service. Okay. So what is the use case? Well, you can host and manage SQL databases in the cloud. So it's suitable for a wide range of applications from small scale to large scale, requiring a reliable and managed data service. So that is just the overview of our sixth service. Moving on to the last service that we need to focus on as far as DP-203 certification is concerned, which is Azure Cosmos DB. So let's go ahead and let's talk about Azure Cosmos DB over here. So let's understand what it is. So in simple words, guys, it is a globally distributed multimodal database service. Okay, it's a globally distributed multimodal database service. What is the use case? Well, you can use it for applications that needs a scalable, globally distributed database with multiple data models like documents, key value, graph, and column family, for example. Okay, so this is just the overview of the seven services that we need to focus on as far as DP-203 is concerned. Up till here, guys, if there is any doubt whatsoever, then please let me know. Okay, I'll wait for you to write your doubts. And also, there was one doubt that was mentioned earlier. We'll try to cover that as well. Just to repeat what we have done up till now, we mentioned that DP-203 certification talks about how you can implement data engineering on Azure platform. So we understood what is data engineering, and then we understood what are the services available in Azure that will help us to implement data engineering. Okay, fine. So up till now, if there are any doubts, guys, please let me know. Any doubts whatsoever, please let me know. If there are no additional doubts, then we will cover the first doubt that one student has asked in the chat. Let me read it out first. Okay. So over here, Pradha Sai Kumar had mentioned over here, he wanted to understand how is Azure Data Factory different from Azure Databricks. So let's go ahead and let's cover the differences over here. Okay, fine. So over here, first of all, these new additional notes that I have written, let me mention in the chat for you guys. And then we'll try to address the doubts. Okay, I'll save this and let me create a new note page where I will try to address the doubts. Okay. All right, let's address the doubts. So let's understand about Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks. We'll try to understand it in simple terms and we'll try to look at their use cases to understand how they differ. Okay, so let's talk about ADF first, Sai Kumar over here. So what it is? So Sai Kumar, if you remember, we had mentioned that Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based data integration service, right? It's a cloud-based data integration service. So think of it as a tool that helps in moving and transforming data from various sources to different destinations. I repeat, think of it as a tool that helps, think of it as a tool that helps in moving and transforming data from various sources to different destinations to different destinations. So it's like a trucking service, guys. Okay, so it's like a trucking service for data where it picks up data from different places, possibly refining it. Okay, if you want to, possibly refining it, if we want to refine it. And along with that, okay, and along the way, uh, 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 it refines it, and after that, it will deliver it. After that, it will deliver it to where it needs to go. Okay. So in simple words, just understand ADF as a trucking service, guys, where it picks up data, sends it to another place, and in between, if we want to refine that data, it can refine that data as well. Okay. So what is the use case? Suppose a company wants to gather sales data from its online store, physical store, and third party sellers. So ADF can be used to extract this data from these various sources and transform it into a unified format. Okay, I will mention its use case over here as well for you guys. Let me mention the use case over here. What is the use case? So suppose we have a company that wants to gather sales data from various sources. Like let's say it has an online store. So online store will have its own data, right? And they have a physical store as well. Apart from online store, they have a physical store as well. Okay, so that physical store will have its own data. And apart from that, it also sells its products through various third-party sellers. So that data will also be different, right? So that data will also be different. So suppose the company wants to gather all this sales data from multiple sources. So what we can do is we can use ADF to extract this data from these various sources, then transform it if we want to. Okay, transform it into a unified format. Okay, there are many things that you can do in transformation. One is converting it to a unified format. For example, the data from online store might just have 8 columns. The data from physical store might just have 7 columns. The data from third party sellers might just have 6 columns, right? So here it might not happen that data from multiple sources all are in the same format. So if yes, ADF can gather data from multiple sources, but after gathering, it has the capability to transform it as well. So for example, by transformation, I mean you can convert it into unified format, you can clean it, you can sort it, you can summarize it, you can do many things. Okay, you can do many things and then load it into a data warehouse where it can be analyzed, where it can be analyzed to gain insights into sales trends. Okay, remember that ADF does not itself do the analysis. All it can do is put the data into a place where analysis is possible, but ADF itself does not do any analysis. Okay, so in simple words, ADF is what? Just like a trucking service, gathers data, puts it into another, after gathering, puts it into another place, and in between, if you want to, transform the data, you can. Now, what is Azure Databricks? Sai Kumar wanted to understand what is Azure Databricks then. Okay, so Azure Databricks, as we mentioned earlier, it's a Spark-based analytics platform, right? We mentioned earlier that Azure Databricks is a Spark-based analytics platform. So it's more like a powerful data processing workshop. Okay, what it is? It's like a powerful data processing workshop where you can do complex data analysis, where you can do machine learning, okay, where you can do big data processing. By big data processing means processing on large data sets, okay. So it allows for collaborative work with data scientists and engineers to transform, explore, and visualize data. Okay, so Azure Databricks is not a trucking service. It will not gather from multiple data sources. It will not then move it to some other place. No, that's the job of ADF. What Databricks does, Databricks is a place where you can do complex data analysis. So think of it like a laboratory, right? Think of it like a scientific laboratory where you can do complex analysis. So Databricks is that. So I hope Sai Kumar, you have understood the difference, buddy. Any doubt, Sai Kumar? Is the difference understood, buddy? Or any more clarity is needed, then let me know. Then we'll talk about Johan's doubt also. Okay. Johan wanted to understand the difference between data lake and delta lake. Fine. So we'll talk about that also. But Sai Kumar, if there is any uh, clarification needed, then please let me know. Okay, let me open up the chat. So Sai Kumar mentioned, yes, exactly. Uh, you can say it's a processing tool. Yeah, where you can do analysis, you can do lots of not just analysis, okay? You can do modeling as well over there. Okay, so think of it as a processing workshop where analysis is possible, modeling is possible. Okay. But ADF is a trucking service. And Sai Kumar says you can do analytics for ML. Yes, for any domain you can do analytics, not just for ML, but yes. Okay, so it's a processing workshop, whereas ADF is like a trucking service. So that was the doubt of Sai Kumar. Moving on to Johin's doubt. So Johin wanted to understand the difference between, I think, let me read the doubt again. Okay, data lake and delta lake. Okay, so Johin might have encountered this term delta lake earlier. So Johin wants to understand the difference. Okay, fine. Let's go ahead and do that. Difference between data lake and delta lake. So what is the difference? Okay, this is Johan's doubt. Okay, so what is data lake, guys? So a data lake is like a large storage pool. Okay, first of all, let me give the heading for data lake. So what is data lake? Data lake is like a large storage pool where you can dump all kinds of data, whether it is structured data, whether it is semi-structured data, or whether it is unstructured data. I repeat, what is data lake? Data lake is like a large storage pool where you can dump all kinds of data. So just like in our scenario, right? In Mumbai, for example, we have many lakes. So there, what they do, they dump all kinds of thing into that link, right? Similarly, here in Azure Data Lake, it's like a pool where you can dump all kinds of data, whether it is structured data, semi-structured data, unstructured data. Okay. And the good part is you don't need to organize this data when you store it. I repeat, you don't need to organize this data, guys, when you store it. Okay. So think of it like a big lake where all types of data can flow in without any specific order. Okay. So think of it like a big lake where all types of water can flow in without any specific order. So that is data lake. What is the use case? So imagine we have a large retail company that gathers ton of data every day from various sources like sales transactions, customer feedback data, social media post data, inventory levels data. Okay, so what they can do is they can use data lake to store all of this data into one place. Okay, then once they have stored it into one place, what they can do after that is their analysts and data scientists can then dive into this lake to pull out the specific data that they need. Okay. And then after pulling out that specific data, they can use it for any analysis that they want to perform. So basically, data lake is just a place where you can store all types of data. Again, the good part is you don't need to organize it while you are storing it. Okay. So data lake is just a place where you can store all kinds of data, whether it is structured data, semi-structured data, unstructured data, you can just store it. Okay. And also you can store it without any specific order. So that is data lake. Now, Johan mentioned another term, delta lake. I didn't mention delta lake term earlier because that was outside the scope of our webinar, but Join since has a doubt, we are covering it. So what is delta lake, guys? So delta lake is a advanced version of data lake. What is delta lake? It is a advanced version of data lake. So it adds a layer of reliability and improves the quality of the data in the lake. Okay. So for example, Johin, have you seen at least in maybe some online videos that nowadays just because pollution into water streams is so high, nowadays governments are thinking to put some filtration system before they release something into that water source. They put a filtration system. You might have seen it in some of the videos, right? Either they put a net or something like that, some filtration system they use. So delta lake is just that. All we are doing over here is we are adding a layer of reliability in order to improve the quality of the data in the lake. Okay, so think of data lake so think of delta lake as data lake only, but with a filtration system. Okay, so delta lake is nothing but data lake, but with a filtration system. So all it does is that the data in the lake is clear, free from any errors, and flows in and out in a controlled manner. Okay, what does it do? It ensures that the data in the lake is clean, free from errors, and flows in and out in a very controlled manner. Okay, so that is about Delta Lake. So Johan, understanding the difference. So talking about the use case of Delta Lake. So let's consider same retail company that we uh, whose example we used in data lake, right? Let's take the same example in Delta Lake as well. So let's take the same retail company. So now they decide to upgrade to Delta Lake because they were facing issues with data quality and reliability in their standard data lake. So with Delta Lake, they can now ensure that the data is accurate and consistent. For example, if they are updating sales data and something goes wrong, then Delta Lake can revert back to the previous good state, thus preventing data corruption. So this reliability is very crucial for them to make accurate business decisions like real-time inventory management or dynamic pricing strategies. Okay, fine. So that's about it. So uh, Delta Lake is data lake only, but with a filtration system. And with that filtration system, all you're trying to do is you're trying to improve the quality of the data in the lake. That's all. Okay. No, Sai Kumar. Delta Lake does not, make it structured. All it does is, if at all there is structured data, it will make sure that that structured data is without any errors. If at all you are storing unstructured data, it will make sure that unstructured data is without any errors. If at all you are storing semi-structured data, it will make sure that okay, semi-structured data is without any errors. Okay, that is what it does. All you're doing is putting a filtration system for your data, making sure that okay, the data in the lake is without any errors. That's all. Okay, that is the main use case of Delta Lake. Understood? So Dinesh mentions, okay, how to perform that scenario that we spoke about. So I think Dinesh is mentioning that, okay, in ADF, we can get data from multiple sources, put it into some another place, how to do that. Yes. So we'll see that ahead, although it's not actually part of this webinar, because in this webinar, we are going to cover 4 labs, and that lab that you're talking about, Dinesh, is not actually in the scope of this, but if we get time at the end, I'll surely show it to you. It will take max 10 to 20 minutes, so I'll surely show it to you. Okay, fine. Mayur says, can you explain about Azure Cosmos DB again? Sure. I'll explain about Azure Cosmos DB, but up till now, I hope Johin and Dinesh, Sai Kumar, your doubts are clear. Any other doubts up till now? We'll talk about Mayur's doubt as well. Up till now, any other doubt? Okay. So if there are no other doubts, then what we'll do is we'll move on to Mayur's doubt then. Okay, Sai Kumar Johin, I hope your doubts are cleared. If not, you can let me know. Okay. So moving on to Mayur's doubt, which is understanding of Azure Cosmos DB. So let's do that. Let's understand Azure Cosmos DB. Okay, so what it is? So Azure Cosmos DB Mayur is a cloud-based no SQL database service. You know, there are different database services. We have SQL, we have no SQL, right? So Mayur, in your opinion, buddy, what is the difference between SQL and no SQL? Any difference that you remember? So this question is to all. So any student can let me know the difference between SQL and no SQL. What is the difference? Any difference that you can let me know? Okay. So Sai Kumar, Mayur, Dinesh are saying okay. So you are saying in SQL we have structured data. In no SQL we have semi-structured. Okay. So basically, guys, in SQL we have relational databases. Okay. And in no SQL we have non-relational databases. Okay. In SQL your data needs a fixed schema. Okay. Whereas in no SQL your data does not need a fixed schema. Okay, so that is the basic difference between them. There are other differences also, but fine. Since we have to take time into account as well, I'm going ahead. So just basic difference: in SQL we have relational databases. In no SQL we have non-relational. Then in SQL we have fixed schema. In no SQL we do not have fixed schema. Okay, so in SQL the data has to follow fixed schema. So for example, in the first row in SQL, let's say if I have put 8 values for 8 columns, then in second row also it will expect same 8, right? So there's a fixed schema that we need to follow. Fine, in SQL. In NoSQL, there is nothing like that. You do not need to follow any fixed schema. Okay, it does not require fixed schema. Fine, there are other differences, but well, there's the basic difference between SQL and NoSQL. So what is Azure Cosmos DB? So Azure Cosmos DB, guys, is a cloud-based no SQL database service. Okay, it's a cloud-based no SQL database service. So it's designed to handle large amounts of data at high speeds and provide high availability across the globe. So let's understand it in a simple manner. So think of Azure Cosmos DB as a super efficient post office that operates all around the world. What did I say? Think of Azure Cosmos DB as a super efficient post service that operates all around the world. So just like a post office can handle sending and receiving packages of different size to and from various locations quickly, similarly, Azure Cosmos DB can handle large amounts of different types of data, whether it is document data, key value pair data. By key value pair, I mean you guys might be familiar with something called dictionaries, right? There, what you have key value pair data only. Okay. So what I'm saying is just like in a post office, you can handle just like a post office can handle sending and receiving packages of different size to and from various locations quickly. Similarly, Azure Cosmos DB also can handle large amounts of different types of data, whether it is document data, key value pair data, graph data, and so on. And it makes sure that this data is quickly available wherever it's needed across the globe. Okay, so that is about Azure Cosmos DB. So I hope the basic explanation is clear. Okay. Uh, Now, what I would do is keeping time into account, I'll go ahead and move on to the labs, and we'll try to complete the labs. During the labs, if you have any doubt, please let me know. After the labs, if you have additional doubt on any other topic of Azure, do let me know. We'll cover it. But for now, we'll move on to the labs. Okay, fine. So let's go ahead and let's do that, guys. So till then, let me go ahead. Let me copy this. Let me paste it in the chat. Yes, welcome, Mayur. Okay. And now let me move on to our first lab. Okay, guys, so we'll try to move on to our first lab now. So if you go to the official documentation of Microsoft, okay, of Microsoft Azure, the first official lab that you will see in DP-203 is called Exploring Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay, this is the first official lab of DP-203. It's called Exploring Azure Synapse Analytics. So before we start, guys, we need to mention, so we need to ensure rather that we have a Azure subscription ready, okay, and which you have administrative level access. So let's go ahead. Let me check whether I have Azure subscription. I do have Azure subscription. So that's good. If you do not have Azure subscription, make sure to get it. Okay, fine. So fine. Once we have a Azure account, then what to do? The next thing that we need to do, guys, is we need to go ahead and provision a Azure Synapse Analytics workspace. So guys, this workspace provides a central point. What does it do? It provides a central point for managing data and data processing runtimes. Okay, so it provides a central place for managing data and data processing. So let's go ahead and let's see how to do it. And remember, guys, in order to provision Azure Synapse Analytics, you can do it directly using the user interface of Azure portal. You can do that. What we'll do is we'll do combination of various approaches. We'll be using the UI, we'll be using PowerShell script, we'll be using ARM template as well. So using these three combinations, we'll try to work in this lab. Okay, so that you get an idea of how to work with all these three approaches. We'll not just work with the Azure portal UI, we'll also work with PowerShell and we'll also work with ARM template. Fine. So what is the first step, guys? So the first step is you need to go to the web browser. So I will mention the first step over here. The first step is that you need to go onto the web browser and sign it to the Azure portal. So let's go ahead and let's do it. So I'll sign into my Azure portal over here. Let me sign in. And with this, my first step is done. Okay. Now, what is the second step? The second step, guys, let me mention the second step over here in my notes. So what I will do for that is let me do one thing. These notes, let me crop it. Let me have my Azure portal at the top. I will have my Azure portal at the top and my notes at the bottom. Okay, I will try to increase the size of my notes over here. One second. It will just take 1 or 2 minutes. I want to make sure that side by side, I want to write down my notes. Okay, fine. So let's go ahead and let's move on to the second step now. So guys, second step is there is a greater than button to the right side of the search bar. Okay, so we have this this button over here, the one that I'm highlighting. It looks like this greater than button. So we need to use this button that is to the right side of the search bar at the top of the page to create a new cloud shell in the Azure portal. Okay. And you can see I've clicked on that button over here. So what was the second step? So second step was to use that button to I should say create a new cloud shell in the Azure portal. Okay, fine. And we have done that over here. Fine. And with this, the Cloud Shell has provided a command line interface, as you can see. It has provided a command line interface over here. It has provided us a command line interface. One second. I'll just make sure that it's visible to you correctly. Okay. I was thinking to write my notes side by side. What should I do over here? Fine. I guess notes we can write it later also. Fine, no issues. Let's go ahead. All right. So here the Cloud Shell has provided a command line interface in a pane at the bottom of the Azure portal. Okay. So this was our second step. So in the third step, you can go ahead and play around with this, uh, you know, uh, pane that has opened up, this Cloud Shell pane that has opened up over here. You can minimize it, maximize it as per your own requirements. So in your third step, you can do that if you want to. Okay, moving on to our fourth step. So guys, in the fourth step, we need to enter the two commands that I'm going to paste in the chat. Okay, so let me go ahead and let me mention those commands over here. So those commands I'll be mentioning in the chat. You can do it side by side if you want. Okay, let me edit this. Let me delete rather, and I will enter one command at a time. Okay, am I able to? Okay, yes, I am. Okay, so this is the first command that you need to run in the Cloud Shell pane that has opened up. And let me enter the second command over here. So this is the second command that you need to run. Okay, so I will just go ahead and I will just try to run those commands. Let me try to run those commands over here. Okay. So basically, all the materials that are required for all the official labs of DP-203, we have just cloned all those materials onto our Azure platform. Okay, fine. And those materials are now available in this folder called DP-203. Okay, so those materials are now available to us. So this was the fourth step, guys. In the fourth step, all you had to do was in this Cloud Shell pane, and here you had two options to work with, PowerShell or Bash. We are sticking to the default option, which is PowerShell. So in this PowerShell pane over here, what we had to do was we had to run these two commands that I had given to you in the chat. So let me mention it in my notes over here. I'll just go ahead and I'll just mention it in my notes. Fine. So that was step 4. I hope up till step 4 it is clear to everyone. Okay. Now, let me go ahead, guys, and let me move on to step 5. So, guys, now what I want to do is I want to create Azure Synapse Analytics, but I'll be doing it with the help of a ARM script. Okay, let me show you that ARM script. So we had cloned some GitHub repo. Let me open up that repo. So here it is, or let me in fact copy link and let me open it up over here. Okay. So here inside all files slash labs, then inside this 01 folder, we have this script, guys. We have this script over here called setup.ps1. Okay, so we want to run this script. In this script, everything is written that will help you to set up your Azure Synapse Analytics. So over here, we are using nothing but a ARM template. So over here, a ARM template has been built to set up everything that is needed for this lab over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's run this. So this setup is inside which folder? So it is inside all files slash labs slash 01 folder, right? So let me go ahead and let me move on to that folder. So I'll write it in my PowerShell pane over here, that move to that folder. Okay, I have moved to that folder over here. And then the next thing that I want to do is I want to run this script over here that was there in setup.ps1, right? We had seen that ARM script, right? Setup.ps1. So let me go ahead and let me run that script. Okay, sorry. Let me run it. And it is starting the script. It will take around 10 minutes to set everything up. Okay, till then, if you have any doubts, please let me know. Here it has prompted me to enter a suitable password. So I will just go ahead and enter a password over here. Please enter a password that you guys can remember later on. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and enter a password. And it will take around 10 minutes, guys, to set everything up. Till then, if you have any doubts, please let me know and you can do this side by side as well. Okay, till then, let me view some doubts. Mayur has a question. Mayur says, I have a Azure student subscription. Yes. So Mayur, in that scenario, do you see create storage button? So that is not just for your account, buddy. It's for my account also. In my scenario, I had already, mounted a storage. So I guess you would see that option, create storage, something like that, or mount storage. You will see that button in that PowerShell pane. Yes. So just click on that button. No need to do anything else. Just click on that button, and once you click on that button, everything will be done. Okay. In my scenario, I had already mounted a storage earlier, so it didn't ask me for that. So that option is not only because you have a student account; it's for all accounts. That option will come. Yes, Rajni, just for one time. Then once that Synapse service is created, or I should say Synapse resource is created, then you can just work with that resource for your lifetime. Okay. But yes, if going down the line, let's say this created resource, you delete it. Okay. If it's deleted, then yes, again, you will have to run the script. Okay. In future. But yes, if it's created and you do not delete this resource, then no need to run the script. Okay. So this script running is a one-time process only. Not only for new user, all we are doing is we are just creating a Azure Synapse resource. That's all. Whether you are an old new user or whether you are new. For example, I'm an old user. Still, I wanted to create that resource. So for that, I had to run that setup file. Okay, but yes, it's a one-time process. With that, this resource will be created. And unless and until you delete it, yes, you would not need that setup file again. Unless and until you delete the Synapse resource, you will not need that setup file again. So it will take around 10 minutes. Till then, if any of you guys have some doubts, please let me know. And if possible, try to execute the lab side by side. Okay. So I will mention these steps for you guys over here. So our next step was what? So guys, our fifth step was that after our repo is created, we need to execute some commands over here. What were those commands? I'll just copy and paste those commands in the chat for you guys. So let me go ahead. Let me paste the commands in the chat. Okay, same commands I will paste in my note as well. These notes I'll be sharing with you later. Okay, let me check. Is the resource created? No, as I said, it will take around 10 minutes. Till then, if you guys have any doubts, please let me know. Up till now, I hope you guys are understanding. Just to revise. So guys, uh, at the beginning, we understood that DP-203 certification talks about how you can implement data engineering on the Azure platform. So first we understood what is data engineering, and then we understood what are the different services in Azure that can help you to implement data engineering. So there are 7 different services that we talked about. Okay. So we had a brief overview of what each of these services can help you to do. Okay. Then once all that theory part was over, we went on to perform our first lab. So as per the DP-203 official documentation, the first lab is called Exploring Synapse Analytics. And we are performing that first lab over here. And we are still in that setup phase. That setup will take more 8-9 minutes more. Okay. Till then, if you have any doubt related to Azure, you can ask me any concept that you want me to teach till this setup is being run, you can ask me. Okay, it might take 10 to 20 minutes. Let's see how much time it takes. Okay, fine. So over here, let me read it correctly. So one student asks in actual project, first data engineer comes, then data scientist, what? Then comes then data scientist and data analyst. No, it's not like that. That's not the order. Okay. Should I do one thing? Should I show you how to how I should say each of these what each of these roles do? Should I mention that? Let me mention that. But no, the order that you mentioned, that's not the exact order. What I will do is I will do a quick overview of what each of these roles do for you. Okay. So we'll try to gain an understanding of that. So guys, what data engineers do basically, one second. I hope my screen is visible. Huh. So what data engineers do essentially is they make sure that the data is stored in a good format for usage. Okay, in simple words, if in one line I want to explain to you what data engineers do is they make sure that data can be stored in my storage in a readily available format. Okay, so if any person in my organization wants to use it, then it should be readily available to them. Okay, that's what data engineers essentially do. Now, for doing that, what are different things? There are multiple things involved, but they just have a one line task, making sure that the data is stored into the storage in a readily available format. Okay. Then what do data analysts do? So what data analysts do is they try to understand the data stored by the data engineers. Okay. They try to understand the data stored by the data engineers using analysis. Okay. Where it could be textual analysis or it could be graphical analysis. By textual analysis, I mean finding out average, median, mode, all of those textual analysis that you do. Graphical analysis could be creating bar charts, scatter plot, line plot, all those graphs that you make, right? So data engineers just make sure that the data is stored in your preferred storage in the readily available format. Analysts use the data stored by the data engineers and they try to use it for what? For analysis purposes. And how do they perform analysis? Using textual or graphical analysis format. Okay. Now coming to data scientists. So data scientists also try to understand data. See, data analysts also try to understand data, but how do they try to understand? Just by analysis. Whereas data scientists also try to understand data, but they do it in two ways. One is analysis and second is modeling. It could be machine learning modeling, it could be deep learning modeling and so on. Okay, so let me mention a brief role-based distinction. So what do data engineers do? So if you're wondering, do data engineers per se have any visualization involved? No, the main task is to store data. But nowadays in companies, if a person is being asked to do data engineering job as well and to do data analyst job as well, can it be the case? Yes. But typical data engineer is expected only to store data into the desirable storage into the desirable storage in a readily available format. Okay, that is what data engineers do. What do data analysts do? Let me go ahead and let me write down what do data analysts do. So what they do over here is they try to understand the data stored by data engineers by performing analysis. By performing analysis. It could be text based, it could be graph based. Okay, so there are different ways of analysis, textual, graphical. Okay, that is what data analysts do. Coming on to the third role that you mentioned, what do data scientists do? So typically, guys, a data scientist tries to understand the data stored by data engineers. How? By doing two things. Okay, by doing two things. First is by performing analysis, and second is by performing modeling. Second is by performing modeling. It could be machine learning modeling, it could be deep learning modeling, and so on. Okay, so this is the brief explanation about each of the roles. Now, you might be asking, some of the companies, data engineers are being asked to perform an analysis also. It could be the case that a person is being asked to do job of data engineer as well as data analyst. But a pure data engineer is only supposed to store data in the desirable format, so in the desirable storage in a readily available format. Okay, that's all. Can you share the steps in the chat box? Yes, I will share. You mean the steps of labs, right? I will share. Let me share the steps. Okay. So for Mayur, I have shared the steps. Rajni, is the role distinction clear? But it might happen, Rajni, that nowadays a company might ask you to perform data engineer plus data analyst job. So yes, the two jobs can get mixed up, but a pure data engineer, what he is supposed to do, I have mentioned. A pure data analyst, what he is supposed to do, I have mentioned. Okay, Rajni, clear? Any doubt? Then please let me know. Clear? Yes, welcome, Rajni. Okay, fine. Let me close this notepad and let me check. Okay. So guys, my setup is done. Okay, now we are ready uh, to move on to the next steps of performing our lab. Okay, up till now, all we have done is we have made sure that we log into our Azure account, and after logging into our Azure account, all we have done is we have made sure that we have the necessary setup for performing this lab. Okay, that's all we have done. Fine, let's go ahead. Now, guys, uh, let's move on to the next steps. Okay, we have made sure that the setup is done. Let's move on to the next steps. So, guys, the next step now is to explore Synapse Studio. Okay. So guys, Synapse Studio is a web-based portal. What is Synapse Studio? It is basically a web-based portal in which you can manage and work with the resources of your Azure Synapse Analytics workspace. So what is Synapse Studio? It is a web-based portal. I will show you how it looks like. But if anybody asks you what it is, you will say it is a web-based portal in which you can manage and work with the resources of your Azure Synapse Analytics workspace. Okay, fine. So now let's go ahead and let's move on to our first step, guys. Okay. So once the setup script has finished, what we will do then is we'll go to the resource group that has been created. So in that setup script, there was some code to create a resource group. So let me go to that resource group. So it should be called DP-203 something. Yes, here it is. So this is the resource group that has been created. And notice that if I go to this resource group, this contains our Synapse workspace. Here it is. It contains our Synapse workspace over here, guys. Okay. Apart from Synapse workspace, it contains a storage account for your data lake. Then it contains a Apache Spark pool. Then a data which is nothing but a data explorer pool and a dedicated SQL pool as well. So in that setup script, there was code written for creating these four things. Okay. If you create these four things manually, it would have taken you a lot of time. So what we did, there was a ready setup available, which just ran that setup. And these four things were made for us. Fine. Now, what is the second thing that we'll do? So guys, the second thing that you need to do over here is you need to go into your Synapse workspace. Okay, I'll mention the steps one by one in the chat for you guys and also in the notes. So let me do that for you. Okay. Meanwhile, I've performed the first step of exploring Synapse Studio and Mayur has a doubt. Mayur asked which question, sorry, which command is used for cloning GitHub repo, right? Is that what you mean? Cloning GitHub repo? I think you mean clone. Yes, okay. So I'm giving you those two commands that you need to run. First command, make sure that if at all in your Azure portal there is a folder called DP-203, it is removed forcefully. If at all you have created earlier by mistake, okay, or if not even by mistake, if intentionally you have created, we want to remove it. Okay. Then the second command that I'm going to paste will actually clone the GitHub repo and all the contents of that GitHub repo, it will paste into this folder called DP-203. Okay. So these are the two commands that you need to run, buddy. So in your PowerShell page, these are the two commands that you need to run. That's all. I hope that answers your question. If there are any other doubts, you can let us know. Okay. Fine. So moving on to exploring Synapse Studio, our first step was done. I have made sure that, okay, the resource group has been created by the setup. Then the second step that I need to perform is I need to select the Synapse workspace. So let me select it. And then in the overview page over here, there is a open Synapse Studio card, right? So we'll select open over here to open Synapse Studio in a new browser tab. So as we mentioned, Synapse Studio is a web-based interface that you can use to work with your Synapse Analytics workspace. Okay. So our second step is done. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's move on to our third step. So let me go ahead and let me mention my third step over here. I'll mention it in my notes and I will also mention it in my chat window so that you can follow it. Okay. So what is the third step? So in the third step, you can see there is this double greater than icon, right? So if I click on it, what will happen is it will expand the menu. And if I expand it, this reveals the different pages within Synapse Studio that you will use to manage resources and perform data analytics tasks. So there is home page, there is data page, develop page, and so on. Okay, fine. So this is the third step. Now, within exploring this Synapse Studio, what is the fourth step that you need to perform? So let me mention the fourth step in the notes as well as in the chat for you guys. So I've mentioned it in my notes. Let me also mention the fourth step in the chat over here. Okay, so what is the fourth step? So in the data page, right? If I click on the data page over here, there are two tabs containing data resources. So one is this workspace tab and another is this linked tab. So workspace tab contains databases defined in the workspace, including dedicated SQL databases and data explorer databases. Okay. Then we have this linked tab over here, which contains data sources that are linked to the workspace, including Azure Data Lake Storage. Okay. So these are the two tabs over here that I wanted you to see. Fine. Moving on to the fifth step in exploring Synapse Studio. So the fifth step talks about this develop page that you see on the left hand side. Let me mention the fifth step in my notes as well as in the chat for you guys. So guys, the fifth step is if you click on this develop page, which is currently empty, this is where you define scripts and other assets used to develop data processing solutions. Okay, so that is the develop page. Moving on to the sixth step of exploring Synapse Studio, which talks about this integrate page that you see on the left hand side. So let me mention the step for that in my notes as well as in the chat for you guys. So we have this integrate page on the left, which is also empty by the way. So you use this page to manage data ingestion and integration assets, such as pipelines to transfer and transform data between data sources. Okay. Then we have seventh step in exploring Synapse Studio. What is the seventh step? Let me mention it in the notes as well as in the chat for you guys over here. I'll go ahead and do that. So this seventh step talks about the monitor page that you see on the left hand side. So let me click on it. So guys, this is where you can observe data processing jobs as they run, and you can also view their history. Okay. So here you can view the data processing jobs that are running currently as well as the data processing jobs that have run previously as well. So that was about monitor page. Moving on to the eighth step in exploring Synapse Studio, let me mention the eighth step in the in my notes as well as in the chat for you guys over here. Let me mention it. So what is this eighth step all about? So guys, this eighth step is about this manage page that you see on the left hand side. So this is where you manage the pools, runtimes, and other assets that are used in your Azure Synapse workspace. So you can view each of the tabs in the analytics pool section and note that your workspace includes the following pools, two type of pools. First is SQL pools. Second is Apache Spark pools. Okay. So in SQL pools, you have built-in SQL pool, which is a serverless SQL pool that you can use on demand to explore and process data in a data lake by using SQL commands. Then you have this second SQL pool as well, which is a dedicated SQL pool that hosts a relational data warehouse database. Then you have something called Apache Spark pools. So what is that? Here also, uh, basically you have on demand database to explore or process data in a data lake. by using programming languages like Scala or Python. Okay, fine. So this is about exploring your Synapse Studio. I hope now everybody has got a brief overview of the Synapse Studio. Now, what is the actual task that we'll be doing on the Synapse Studio? That we'll see. But up till now, if there are any doubts, please let me know. Any doubts, guys? If there are any doubts whatsoever, please let me know. Okay, fine. I do not see additional doubt. You can even type your doubt. I will go ahead. In between, if I see your doubt, I'll definitely try to answer it. Fine. So up till now, we have just got a brief overview of the Synapse Studio, right? Now let's go ahead and what we'll do is we'll try to ingest data, okay, into this Synapse Studio. So let's go ahead and do that. And actually, let's do that after the tea break over here. So we'll take a 20-minute tea break. And after the tea break, we'll be back and we'll see the remaining steps in this lab over here. Okay. But up till now, if you have any doubt in any of the explanation, please let me know, guys. I'll be happy to answer it. Okay. I'm assuming that up till now everything is clear. The next steps of the lab we'll see after the tea break. Let's take a tea break. I need some water to drink, so I will just drink it and we'll come at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Okay, we'll start off. So till then, let's take a short break. Let's take a short tea break and we'll be back after that. Let's take a 20-minute tea break. And after that, we'll be back and we'll be seeing the rest steps that are left as far as our lab is concerned over here. Okay, so we'll just take a tea break, guys. Till then, I'll just keep my mic on mute.
Hello guys, sir is on break. Till that time, you can redeem your badge. We already shared badge details on chat box. Guys, you just have to follow the step and you will get the activated badge. Guys, if you are facing any problem to redeem the badge, put a message on a drop. Put a message on chat box. Guys, in this batch, we'll provide you study material and overview of the module, whatever sir is teaching today. So this is very benefit for you. So redeem your batch. Guys, who all are done with the batch, please put a message on chat box so I can know who are done. If you are facing problems, so put a message on chat box. I will be there to help you. Guys, also you can share this batch on Twitter and LinkedIn as a learning achievement. Those who are remaining with the batch, please redeem your batch. This is very benefit for you. Anyone facing problem, please let me know.
All right, guys. So let's resume. So, guys, before the tea break, we tried to gain a understanding of the Synapse Studio, and we just tried to explore the Synapse Studio. Right now, using the Synapse Studio, there are four additional things that we'll do. Let me write it down in my notes. Okay. Using the Synapse Studio, we'll be doing four things. And what are those four things? First, we will try to ingest data with a pipeline. After that, the second thing that we'll do is we'll try to use a serverless SQL pool to analyze data. Then the third thing that we'll do is we'll try to use a Spark pool to analyze data. And the fourth and last thing that we'll do is we'll use a dedicated SQL pool to query a data warehouse. Okay, fine. So let's go ahead and let's do these four things. First, let's start off by understanding how to ingest data with a data pipeline. So let's go ahead and let's do that over here. So one of the key tasks that you can perform with Azure Synapse Analytics is to define pipelines that transfer data from a wide range of sources into your workspace for analysis. So let's go ahead and let's see the steps that are involved to do this task. So there are in total 14 steps that you need to perform in order to do this task. So let me mention those steps in the chat as well as in my notes. I have mentioned those steps in the chat. So if at all you want to do those steps along with me, you can do it. Okay, fine. So guys, the first step is you need to go to the home section of your Synapse Studio, and then you need to select ingest. After selecting ingest, we need to open up the copy data tool. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do that over here. So in the copy data tool, in the properties step, which you see over here, we need to ensure that the built-in copy task and run once now are selected. And you can see both of these are selected. After that, we need to click on next. Okay, that was the second step. Third step. Now in the source section, you can say we are in the source section. So in the source section, in the dataset substep, we need to select the following settings. So for source type, we need to select all. For connection, we need to create a new connection. Okay, so let's do it. Let's create a new connection. And over here, what we'll do is in the linked service pane that appears. This is the linked service pane that appears on the right hand side. So on the generic protocol tab, we will select HTTP and then continue. And this will create a connection. And we want to create a connection to a data file by mentioning the settings over here. So name anything I can give. Let me give a name of products. Description, let me give a description, although it is not mandatory. I'll say product list via HTTP. Product list via HTTP. Then third option, connection via integration runtime. Let me keep it default. Then my base URL. I've mentioned the base URL in the chat for you guys. So I will just copy that URL, paste it over here. Okay. Then server certificate validation will keep on enable. Authentication type, let me select anonymous. And that completes our third step. Moving on to our fourth step, guys. So after creating the connection, Let me create the connection first of all. Okay. So after creating the connection, our fourth step now is on the source data store page, we need to ensure that following settings are selected. Okay. So for retrieve URL, we'll keep it blank. For request method, let me select get. For additional headers, I'll leave it blank. For binary copy, let me keep it as unselected. Request timeout, again, I will leave it as blank. Max concurrent connections, again, I will leave it as blank. And I will just click on the next button over here. That completes our fourth step. In total, there are 14 steps, out of which fourth step we have just completed. In between performing these steps, if you have any doubts, please let me know. Then, what is the fifth step? So again, what we'll do is in the configuration substep, we will select preview data to see a preview of the product data that our pipeline will ingest. Okay, so this is the preview. And fine, we are happy with the preview. We'll just close the preview over here. So fifth step was to just have a preview of the product data that our pipeline is going to ingest. Moving on to our sixth step. So after previewing the data in the file format settings page, we'll ensure that some of the settings are properly selected. So for the file format, I'll keep it as delimited text. Okay. Comma delimiter, I'll keep it as comma only since it's a CSV file, comma separated values file. Then row delimiter, let me keep it as line fed only since each row in that CSV file is distinguished by a new line, right? So fine. First row is header. Yes, in that CSV file, the first row contains my column names. So the first row is in fact a header over there. Compression type, let me select as none. Or fine, let me not select anything. So it will by default assume none. Fine. And with this, what will happen is my sixth step will be done. Now, if at all up till this sixth step, if you have any doubts, please let me know, guys. Okay, I guess I had not sent these steps to you. I have sent it right now. Huh. Rajni says in ADF as well, we can create pipeline. So how is Synapse Analytics different from EDF? Yes, a good question. So let's go ahead and let's understand the difference between them. After that, we'll continue with the steps that we are performing in our lab. I repeat, we are trying to perform 14 steps, out of which 6 steps we have already performed. Remaining 8 steps will perform soon. Okay, but till then, let's try to understand Rajni's doubt. Okay. So let me open up Notepad over here. Okay. So ADF versus Synapse. This was Rajni's doubt. So Rajni only, right? Or some other story. Rajni. Okay. Fine. So let's understand the difference over here. So what is the difference over here? Let's understand it. So first, what is ADF? So what is ADF? As we understood it, it is a data integration tool, right? Let me mention it over here. It is a data integration tool, right? And it's basically is designed for orchestrating and automating data movement, right? And transformation. So it basically allows you to create data-driven workflows, or in other words, we call it pipelines for ingesting data from different sources, transforming it, and then loading it into a destination for storage or further analysis. Okay, that was about ADF. What about Synapse? So Synapse is more than a data integration. It's an analytics service that brings together enterprise data warehousing and big data analytics. So it allows you to query data using either serverless on demand or provisioned database resources. Okay. So while ADF or Azure Data Factory is just a data integration tool, Synapse is more than a data integration tool. It's an analytics service. Okay. It's more than just a data integration tool. So it will do all the tasks that your ADF does. But apart from that, you can also use it to perform analytics. So Azure Synapse Analytics, formerly known as uh, SQL Data Warehouse, the previous name of Synapse Analytics was SQL Data Warehouse, is not just a data integration tool. Okay, it's in fact a analytics service. It's in fact a analytics service. Talking about the key differences. Okay, so let's understand the differences now. So first, scope. So ADF is specially designed for data integration. Okay, ADF is specially designed for data integration, whereas Synapse Analytics is a more comprehensive service that includes data integration, then analytics and data warehousing. Okay, so this is about the scope. Now, let's talk about analytical capabilities of both ADF and Synapse. Okay, let's talk about the analytical capabilities. So Synapse provides advanced analytics. It provides advanced analytics capabilities and a integrated environment, and I should call it a integrated environment, okay, for managing and analyzing, large data sets, which Azure Data Factory does not offer, So this is the second difference. Third, third difference is with respect to data warehousing. So Synapse includes features for data warehousing. Okay, Synapse includes features for data warehousing, and it allows you to perform high performance data analytics, which is beyond the scope of ADF, which is beyond the scope of ADF. Okay, then uh, the fourth difference is more about integration with other Azure services. Integration with other Azure services. Okay. So while both ADF and Azure Synapse integrate well with other Azure services, but Synapse offers a more seamless experience. It offers a more seamless experience for analytics and data warehousing in the Azure platform. So these are the four differences between Azure Synapse and Azure Data Factory. I hope the differences are clear to you, Rajni. Is there any doubt over the differences? Then please let me know. If you're wondering what is the reason of me choosing Synapse over ADF, these are the reasons. Basically, I didn't only want to, get my data from a source, put it into another source. I also wanted to analyze it if you remember in our notes, we had written down that we'll do some steps. So just after the tea break, I mentioned that we are going to do four things. Here I have mentioned. Okay, I said that yes, we'll ingest data with a pipeline. Yes, you can do it with ADF, Synapse both. But I also wanted to analyze data. Okay, with Synapse, I can do it a lot more seamlessly. Okay, it is not possible in ADF. Okay. I think there is some message in the chat. Let me view it. Send these points. Yes, I'll put these points in the chat. Okay. Guys, any other conceptual doubt you have, please let me know. Please feel free to ask. Till then, what we'll do is we'll go ahead with our lab, continue with our lab. So guys, as I mentioned that after the tea break, so before the tea break, we had just explored Synapse Studio. Now after the tea break, I wanted to do these four things. First was ingest data with a pipeline. In order to do this task, there are 14 steps. Out of those 14 steps, 6 steps I have already done, right? I have mentioned those 14 steps in the chat for you guys. Okay. And out of those 14 steps, 6 step is up to 6 step we are already done. Now 7 step. So on the destination page, uh, in the dataset substep, we need to select some settings. Okay. So for destination type, let me select Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Let me select that option. Okay. So I'm getting my data from uh, GitHub, right? And I want to put it into Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Fine. Then it says connection. Yes, we have already established the link service, right? Earlier. So there is already a connection made. All we need to do is we need to select it. Fine. All right. Then 7 step done, guys, with this. 8th step. So after selecting the connection over here, we need to ensure some more settings. So folder path should be files slash product data. Folder path should be files slash product data. Or is it sales data? Sorry, my mistake. Okay. Files slash sales data. Okay, fine. Then my file name. So over here, what I will do is let me give it a name. I will say sales.csv. Copy behavior. I'll just keep it as it is. Okay. Max concurrent collections, leave it as blank. Block size, leave it as blank. Fine. With this, my 8th step is also done. Okay. 8th step is also done. Fine. Let's move on to our 9th step over here. 9th step. Our 9th step, guys, is we need to select some more settings. So file format, delimited text is fine. Okay, this is for my destination that okay, I'm putting it into data lake storage Gen 2. There the file format should be what? So I'll say delimited text because our original file was also in form of delimited text. So our destination file will also be in the same form. Comma delimiter again, same comma separated, right? Row delimiter, I should keep it as line fed. Okay, that means every row in that CSV file will be distinguished with a new line, the line feed. Okay, then add header to the file. Yes, we want that the first line in the CSV file is treated as column names or header. So we want that. Compression type, we'll leave it as blank. Max rows per file blank. File name prefix blank. With this, my 9th step is done over here. Moving on to our 10th step, guys. Now, on the settings step over here, what we need to do is we need to give it a task name. So let me give it a name. Let me call it copy sales. Okay, task will be copy sales data. Fault tolerance, I'll leave it as blank. Enable logging, I will leave it as unselected. Enable staging, I will leave it as unselected. Fine, let me click on next. And with this, my 10th step is done. Okay, moving on to our 11th step. So on this review and finish step, we can just go ahead, review everything. And if we are fine with the summary, then we can just go ahead and click on the next button. And with this, 11th step is also done. Moving on to our 12th step. So on this deployment step, we'll wait for the pipeline to be deployed. And once it is deployed, you can see it is deployed. We'll just go ahead and we'll click on finish. With this, my 12th step is done. Now, my 13th step is in Synapse Studio. There is this monitor page. So we'll go there. And in the pipeline runs tab, uh, you can see our pipeline is completed. Okay, we can see this succeeded message over here. Okay, so we can see it is done. Fine. And with this, we have just ensured that the pipeline that we have made over here has successfully worked. Okay, it has successfully worked. Fine. All right. Now let me do one thing over here. What I will do is let me view the ingested data. Okay, so I'll just go ahead, view the ingested data. In order to do that, I need to do two steps. So let me go ahead and let me show you those steps. Okay, so I'll just mention those steps for you. View the ingested data. So this is the first step. And let me mention second step as well. So I'll go ahead, mention second step for you guys. So my second step is right click on the uh, sales.csv data file and preview to view the ingested data. So these are the steps I have posted in the chat. Let me post it in my notes as well. Fine. So in order to view the ingested data, what we'll do is we'll go to the data page. We'll select the linked tab and this data lake container, right? We'll just expand it. And okay, here we see the file storage for our Synapse workspace. Okay, fine. So we'll select file storage and hopefully we should have a folder over here. Yes, sales data folder, right? And here I should have a file called sales.csv. Yes, here I have it. So see from that GitHub link, right? We have got that data and sent it to this Azure data lake storage. So I have basically built a pipeline to get data from one place, put it into another place. So we have just ingested data. That's all. All we have done is we have just ingested data over here. And if you want, you can go ahead and even preview it. Okay, you can see it's open. Okay, fine. So all we have done is we have ingested data. As I mentioned earlier, before the tea break, we had just explored the Synapse Studio. After the tea break, we are supposed to do four things, right? First was ingest data with a pipeline. And that first thing I have done over here. And that first thing I have done. Then second thing, we need to use a serverless SQL pool to analyze data. So let's go ahead, let's do it. So let's give a heading over here, serverless SQL pool to analyze data. Okay. Serverless SQL pool to analyze data. Okay, let's analyze it. Now that we have got the data onto my Azure platform, right? And in which service I have got it? Azure Data Lake Storage Service I have got it. Fine. So I have my data. Now that I have my data, let me analyze it. Okay. Uh, so let's go ahead and do that. So one of the most common ways to do analysis is by querying data. And for querying data here, let me use SQL. Okay. So in Synapse Analytics, you can use serverless SQL pool to run SQL code against the data that you have in data lake. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's see these steps over here. What are these steps? So guys, first step over here, let me go ahead and let me mention these steps. So first step, I'll go ahead and mention in my uh, notes as well as in the chat. So the first step over here is in the Synapse Studio. In the Synapse Studio, right click the sales.csv file in the file storage, then point to the new SQL script, point to the new SQL script and select top 100 rows. Okay. So this is the first step over here. Let me mention it in the chat also for you guys. Okay. Now over here, Sai Kumar has a doubt. So let me read it correctly over here. So Sai Kumar mentions, can we also ingest pipeline using SharePoint instead of GitHub? Yes, you can ingest data from SharePoint into Azure Data Factory, but the process and capabilities are different from using GitHub. Okay, so if you want to use SharePoint, right? What you can do is if you want to use SharePoint as a data source, so you can do that. So for that, I'll just mention these steps. Okay, for Sai Kumar. So let me mention it in the chat for you. So how you can use SharePoint as a data source. So what are the steps that you need to do? So the first step is you need to set up a SharePoint container, or I should say a connector. Okay. So ADF supports connectors to various data sources, including SharePoint Online. So you would use SharePoint Online over here. Okay. You would use SharePoint Online as a connector. Okay, that is what you would do. Then once the connector is set up, you would go ahead and do the second step, which is to ingest data. So once the connector is set up, you can create a pipeline in ADF to ingest data from SharePoint. So this can involve copying data from SharePoint lists, and then if needed, transforming it using ADF data flow or other activities. Okay. Uh, so yeah, you can do that. Okay. Technically, you can do that. All you need to do is just do these two things over here. And I hope your doubt is clear. If not, if I've misunderstood it, please let me know. Was this your doubt? Was this your doubt? If not, please let me know. Okay. So over here, uh, Sai Kumar mentions that, okay, if it's possible to ingest pipeline using SharePoint instead of GitHub, Yes, we can do it using Portal UI. Can we also do it using PowerShell? Absolutely. But in the same steps that we are doing using Portal UI, right? You can do it with PowerShell or you can do it with ARM template as well. All these steps. Okay. So this is not only limited to the task that you are referring to. Any step in Azure can be done using three ways. First, directly using Azure Portal UI, okay, where you can just select the buttons, select the settings on the UI here and there. That is one. Second, using that PowerShell or Bash shell. Okay. Third, using ARM template. So yes, any task, not just your task, but any task. As Psycho mentions, using GUI or PowerShell or ARM template. So yes, you can do that. I hope that clarifies your doubt. ARM template. Yes, third option is ARM template. So do you remember when we set up Synapse Analytics service, we used ARM template. There was a setup file that was nothing but ARM template. If there are any other doubts, then please let me know. Okay, moving on. We have ingested data. Now what we want to do is that ingested data I want to analyze. So let's go ahead and let's do it. I hope I have mentioned the first step to analyze. Yes, I have mentioned the chat. Okay, let's do it. So what I'll do is let me go to the Synapse Studio and I will go to that file. Do that. And here there is an option, as you can see, new SQL script. And there you have to select this option called select top 100 rows. Okay, so I want to analyze the top 100 rows. Okay. And you can see automatically a script is made for me to analyze those top 100 rows. So here you can do any changes if you want, but I'm fine with it. Okay, so I'll just go ahead. Now, what you need to do is make sure that in this connect to list, ensure that built-in option is selected. This represents the built-in SQL pool that was created with our workspace. So we had created one SQL pool earlier when we had ran that setup file, right? We had created a SQL pool. So we want to use that one only. Okay, so that is the second step to make sure that in the connect to list, this built-in option is selected. Let me mention it in the notes as well as in the chat for you guys. Okay, fine. Then what we need to do is over here on the toolbar, we have this run button. Okay, using which we can run the SQL code. So let's go ahead and let's click on that button over here. So third step is on the toolbar, we need to go ahead and press that run button. The same step I will mention it in my notes as well as in the chat so you can perform it side by side. Let me mention the same in the chat as well. Okay, fine. And now you can see I'm able to analyze those top 100 rows over here. Okay, fine. So note that over here, the results consist of four columns, C1, C2, C3, and C4. And that first row, you can see the first row in the result over here. What does it do? It actually contains the name of the columns. So can I say over here, Sai Kumar, that by mistake, the name of the column is not considered. The column names are treated as for row values. Yes or no? Sai Kumar, agreed? These column names should not be treated as row values. So instead of C1, we should have product ID. Instead of C2, we should have product name and so on. So this mistake has happened over here. Okay. So to fix this problem, So to fix this problem, what we will do over here is, let me check if there is an option to fix this problem. Uh, Let me do a change in my code then. Okay. So what I would do is, here in my code, I would just write header underscore row equal to true. Okay. Header underscore row equal to true. So what this will do is, it will make sure that the first line in the CSV file is treated as header, or it is treated as column names. Okay. So this is the next step that you need to do. I'll mention it in my notes as well as in the chat for you guys, so you guys can do it. Let me go ahead and do that. So just a simple change in my SQL code. Now let me run it. Let's see whether that solves the problem. And yes, you can see now that problem is solved. So that problem that me and even you guys had seen, right? Now that problem has been solved. Okay, fine. So now we have just basically just viewed the data over here, right? Let me modify it a little. Okay, I'll go ahead and modify it. So this time, let me do one thing. I don't want to view top 100. I only want to do one thing over here. I want to see category column, and okay, let me perform group by operation. Let me group by category. Okay, I want to group by category. So let me do that. And I want to get the count of every product in each category. Okay, so let me do that. I want to get the count of every product in each category. Okay, so you can see I'm doing analysis over here. Okay, I'm doing this analysis. The same thing is not directly available in Azure Data Factory, whereas it is available in Azure Synapse. Fine, let me group by over here. Let me group by. Okay, fine. And that was our next step. So let me mention it in my notes as well as in the chat for you guys. Okay, let me run it. Let me see if it runs. Or is there a mistake in my code? Yes, I am able to get the result that I want to. Fine. So over here I'm doing this analysis that okay, in this category, 3 products were sold. In this category, bike racks category, only 1 product was sold, and so on. Like this, I can know that okay, you know, which products are sold the most, which category of products sold the most, and so on. Fine. So this type of analysis you can do. This is just one basic analysis that I have done. This similarly, you can do more complex analysis if you want. Okay, fine. And let me do one thing. What I will do is this SQL script that I've written. Let me give it a name. I will say count products by category. Count products by category, and that's it. And I'm fine with the analysis that I've done. I want to save it. So what I'll do is I'll click on publish to save the script. If I click on publish button over here, that script will be saved. Okay, fine. And the script is saved over here. Okay. And with this, let me close this pane over here, properties pane that has opened up. Let me close it. All right. Now let me move on to the next step. So now in the Synapse Studio, I'll go ahead and click on this develop page that you see over here. Okay. And you will see that your SQL script that you wrote has been saved there. So the analysis that we have done has been saved there. So you can view that analysis if you want to. Let me mention that step in my notes as well as in the chat for you guys. So you guys can see it. Okay. Make sure to click on that publish button so that your SQL script is saved. I'll go ahead and click on that new option over here and you can see I am able to see that SQL script that has been saved over here. Okay, fine. And like this, you can create many scripts. Okay. And all right. So now if you want to do more analysis, so this was textual analysis, right? For example, I just ran the code, I got some text in the output. What if you want to do graph-based analysis? As I mentioned, analysis of two types, textual and graph-based, right? So here there is an option to do that as well. So you're in the results pane, by pane, I mean PANE. Okay, results pane. We can select this chart view. Okay, we can select this chart view over here and then we can mention the settings that we want. So which chart we want. So here I have said line chart. Okay, like that. You can change the option that you want. Okay, so let me select a different option instead of line chart. Let me select column chart. Okay, column chart. Category column. Then this is fine. Product count. So the same analysis that we did textually, right? So where we grouped category and we wanted the count of products sold in each category. So here the same analysis we have obtained, but by using graph. Okay. Fine. Yes, so the things are fine. And you can see same analysis we have obtained. So for the bib shots, you if you remember, three products were sold. Exact same is obtained by this chart also. So you can see with chart, you get a more holistic view. Same thing you can get in text-based analysis, but with text-based analysis with some little bit harder sometimes. With chart-based, it's much easier for you to do analysis. Okay. And what we have done is here we have used serverless SQL pool to analyze data. Up till now, guys, any doubt whatsoever? Any doubt? So is it clear how to ingest data into Synapse and how you can use serverless SQL pool in Synapse to analyze data? Everyone, Rajni, then Sai Kumar, then other students. Dinesh, understood, guys? Any doubt? Ajay, Akshay, I hope up till now these steps are clear. The charts very basic and developed app. Ah, yes, here the charts are basic. I agree. So, okay. So, yes, completely agree. So here can I say I have limited options to do analysis? Can I say that for doing graphical analysis at least? Maybe for textual, I can do it with SQL core. Here I can say with chart, maybe you have limited options. Yes or no? You can only select bar chart, column chart, line chart, pie chart, scatter chart. What if you want more control? What to do? What to do? So guys, here can I say this is GUI here in serverless SQL pool, right? You might feel that okay, you have less control over the analysis that you want to do. Okay. What if you want to do more detailed analysis? Okay, let's say over here in serverless SQL pool, you're only getting few chart options. What if you want to get more chart options? That is when that is where you go to this third step over here that we had mentioned earlier. Earlier only we had mentioned. Let me show you my notes. So earlier I mentioned that we'll be using after ingesting data, we'll be using serverless SQL pool to analyze data. After that same data, we can analyze using Spark pool as well. And in Spark pool, we'll be writing Python code to analyze data. And there you will have more control over what analysis you can perform. Okay. So yes, I agree in some sense in serverless SQL pool, you might feel that you have less options to do analysis. So if you want more options, go to Spark Pool. Okay, same day analysis will do. But there in Spark Pool, you will be writing Python code. And we know, right? For those of you who are familiar with Python, we can make a lot of charts with Python. For those of you who are familiar with Python, you guys would know that. Correct, right? So Pradha mentions you can use Cbon library. Absolutely, yes. Okay. Anand says when you publish, uh, where those scripts are saved. So there is a inbuilt storage called over here in Synapse Studio. Whenever you create that resource, right? So there is a inbuilt storage for that. So all of your scripts and everything are stored over there. Okay. So all of the supporting metadata. So the script is nothing but metadata. So for metadata, there is a small storage that is made. Is that what you are asking for or something else? Or if you are asking where it will be shown on this UI, then you can see it in this develop page. Okay. Varda says, will we do that for Spark analysis? Varda, we can do that. Let's see. Okay, fine. I'll show you how to do basic analysis. Then we can go ahead and, import Cbon and all of that we can do. Fine, let's go ahead. Okay. So up till now, what we have done as per our notes, we have ingested data. Then after that, we have used serverless SQL pool to analyze data. Now we are using Spark pool to analyze data. Fine. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me give a heading in my notes. Spark pool. So while SQL is a common language, guys, for querying structured data sets, many data analysts find languages like Python useful for exploring and preparing data for analysis. So in Azure SQL, in Azure Synapse Analytics, you can run Python as well as some other language code in a pool called Spark pool, which uses a distributed data processing engine that is based on Apache Spark. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see these steps. So what is the first step that you have to do over here? So let me go ahead, let me mention that first step. So now we are going to use a Spark pool to analyze data. Okay, so what are the steps? Okay, Anand has a doubt. So Anand, okay. Before I move on to the steps of using Spark pool to analyze data, let's understand Anand's doubt. So Anand mentions in Synapse, we connected with uh, Git in the dev, and if we do publish, no, not in Git. These scripts are not stored in Git. No, you mean in the DP-203 folder that we created? It's stored. It's not stored over there. Okay, it's not stored over there. Okay, so when you create this Synapse workspace, right, there is an inbuilt storage that is created. Okay, for storing metadata. So there it is stored. So if you're wondering, we had created a DP-203 folder while cloning GitHub. If you are wondering there, this script is stored. No, it's not stored there. Okay, fine. Moving on to our next step, which is using Spark tool to analyze data. So let me go ahead and let me make you understand how you can do that. So using a Spark tool to analyze data. So what are the steps? So guys, in the Synapse Studio, what you can do is on the data page. Okay, on the data page, we can browse for sales underscore data folder, then right click on sales.csv, point to the new notebook and select load to data frame. Okay, let's go ahead and let's do this. So on the data page, okay, what we'll do is we'll search for this folder over here called product data. So let's search for it, or sales data, right? It was, if I am not wrong. Or, or I think I have misplaced the name of my folder. But anyways, the file that I wanted to use is this file called sales.csv. So I'll change it in my notes over here, sales data. Uh, Browse for sales data CSV. Okay, so I have found it. Let me right click, and here there is an option, new notebook. And here let me select load to data frame. Okay, let me select that. So now a notebook opens up. Okay, and here first what we want to do is in this notebook that has opened up, in the attached to list that you can see at the top, you can see at the top there is a attached to list. Select the Spark pool that we had created earlier. So we had created a Spark pool at the beginning when we had ran that setup file. We had created a Spark pool. So all we want to do is select that. So now you are understanding the importance of that setup file. If you had not run it earlier, then what you would have to do is here you will have to create a Spark pool, then select it. Okay, but instead of doing that, what we did is early only all the things that were required, we had it available to us. Fine. So this is the second step. Okay, so in the notebook pane that opens in the attached to list, we need to select the Spark pool and ensure that the uh, settings are correctly done over here. Fine. All right. And apart from that, I'm fine over here. So I will just go ahead and mention this step to you. So let me go ahead and let me mention that step. Apply, and this is my second sub step. Let me mention it. Okay, fine. And now let me review the code. I hope everything is fine with this code. It is. So I can just go ahead and I can just go ahead and run the code over here. So you can see there is a run button. So I can just go ahead and uh, click on it. If I click on this button at the top, it will run all the cells in the notebook. If I want to run only one cell, then you can click on this button over here. It will only run the cell that is there in front of it. So I only want to run this cell. So let me go ahead and let me click on it. And it will take a minute or so. Let us wait. As I said, it will take about a minute. So just wait for it. And again over here, same issue will occur. The same issue that we had faced when using SQL pool, right? Same issue will face in Spark pool also. What was that issue in SQL pool? The issue that we faced was the uh, header of the CSV file, or I should say the column names that were mentioned in the CSV file were not treated as column names. It was not treated as a header. Same issue we'll see over here. Okay. So let's wait. And in a few seconds, the running should be over. Let's wait till then. If you have some theoretical doubts that you want to ask, you can ask. Just wait. Wait again. It's taking some time. A code is correct. It is that usually does take some time, minimum 1 minute. Okay. So then I'll just drink some water, and if you have any doubts, please let me know. Any theoretical doubts. Okay, the execution time has gone beyond 2 minutes. Fine. We'll just wait for a few more seconds. Okay, I guess there are some doubts posted in the chat. Let me view. Okay. So here one student has a doubt. Anand says difference between built-in SQL pool and dedicated SQL pool, and which scenario pool, and in which scenario which pool to use. I think is question is that. So difference between built-in SQL pool and dedicated SQL pool, and which scenario which pool to use. Okay, fine. Good question. Let's go ahead and let's understand it in a simple manner over here. Okay, so fine. Let me open up the notepad. So good that you asked this because our code is running. In the meantime, we'll try to cover some theoretical doubts. Okay, let's talk about built-in SQL pool first. Okay, built-in SQL pool. Let's understand its explanation. So built-in SQL pool, if I want to explain it in a simple manner, uh, I would say, okay, how can I explain it? Okay, let me put it in this way. So it basically refers, I should say, it basically refers to the on demand. Okay, it basically refers to the on demand query processing capabilities with Azure Synapse Analytics. Azure Synapse Analytics. So think of it. Okay, so you can think of it as a pay as you go service. So you can think of it as a pay as you go service for running SQL queries. So you don't have a dedicated resource. You don't have a dedicated resource. Instead, you use shared resources to execute queries as needed. So think of it like this. Okay, buddy. Anand. Okay. So Anand, let's suppose you run a company, buddy. Okay, and you want some task to be done. Now you have two options. Either you can approach a freelancer for that task, or you can approach your in-house employee. Okay, what is the difference between the two? Can I say, Anand, that freelancer will be more cheaper to you because he will only charge you for the work that he does? Yes, freelancer will be more cheaper because he will only charge you for the work that he will do. Yes, but what is the disadvantage? That that freelancer will be doing work with other companies also. You don't know whether the data that you are sharing, okay, uh, I mean, although the security of Azure is good, is just that in your mind, you will always have that doubt that, okay, you do not have a dedicated employee. Maybe that freelancer sometimes is busy. Okay. So in that case, your task won't be done. Okay. Because you do not have a dedicated employee with you. He is a freelancer at the end of the day. He can say that, no, I am too consumed lately, so I will not do your task. Okay. Although in Azure, they take care of it. They make sure that your querying is done by the built-in SQL pool, but built-in SQL pool is like a freelancer. Okay, so basically it's a big SQL pool, and me and you, then Prabha, Sai Kumar, Rajni, everyone can try to use this SQL pool for their benefit, but it's shared by everyone. Okay, it's not dedicated to you specially. Okay, so suppose you have a small business with fluctuating data query needs. Sometimes you need to run complex queries for monthly reports, but don't have a constant need for heavy data processing. Then built-in SQL pool is perfect. So if you have a small business, then yes, you do it with help of freelancers, or in other terms using built-in SQL pool. So built-in SQL pool is like that freelancer. What is this dedicated SQL pool? So dedicated SQL pool, also known as SQL data warehouse. Okay, dedicated SQL pool's previous name was SQL data warehouse. Let me write it over here. Its previous name was SQL data warehouse, also known as SQL data warehouse. It basically provides you with dedicated resources for your data processing needs. So it's like having a powerful dedicated server. So it's like having a powerful dedicated employee, right? If you hire an employee for full time, so he'll only work for you. Okay, that's always available. That's always available for your large scale data processing tasks. So the choice between built-in SQL pool, dedicated SQL pool depends upon how big your business is. So if you have a large enterprise with constant and heavy data processing needs, and let's say you regularly run complex queries, you regularly do complex data transformations and analysis on large data sets, then dedicated SQL pool is ideal in your scenario. Okay. So the choice depends upon your business. So what is the requirement? If you are only doing queries, if you are not doing it regularly, you're only doing some basic queries here and there, use built-in SQL pool only, it will be cheaper for you. Okay. But if you have a high demand of querying, then dedicated is better. Okay. Dedicated SQL pool is only for you. It's not shared by others. Whereas built-in SQL pool is shared by every Azure user. Yes, Anand says it is shared. So the data processing, yes, exactly, exactly, correct. Yes. So I hope your doubt got cleared. If not, you can let me know. Okay, then before taking Sai Kumar's new doubt, let's take a doubt that who is the student? Okay, Sai Kumar only. Okay. So Sai Kumar has a doubt here. I've highlighted in the chat for everyone to see. So Sai Kumar says if we opt for serverless, okay, we should be using Azure platform, which we're seeing now. Means you mean serverless SQL? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Okay. So let me read it in that sense. So you're saying if we opt for serverless SQL, we should be using Azure platform, which we are seeing right now. Or do we have any ID for Azure? So, you are saying only we can do it with Azure platform. Let's say without Azure platform, can you do it? Yes, there are libraries available in many programming languages, including Python. So all you have to do is take any ID, Visual Studio Code, Jupyter Notebook, it would work. Okay. So is that your doubt that if you're dealing with a serverless SQL pool, you can only deal with it using Azure platform? You can use any ID, Visual Studio Code. is just that for that there are certain libraries you will have to import, as you might be aware, right? That uh, in programming languages we have libraries. So you will have to write code accordingly. But it's not like the work that we have done up till now can only be done just using the GUI or Azure Portal UI. Okay. You can take any other ID, let's say Visual Studio, and write your code in there, and the same work will be done. Same exact one. Nothing will be different. Querying. So you are saying yes. So working with Visual Studio will not be comfortable for you. Yes, even for me. That's why sometimes if it's a simple task, right, we just go to the Azure portal and do it. Yes. Or are you talking about querying some other sense? Are you saying in acha, that SQL pool? Acha, SQL queries is not comfortable. Oh, acha, understood. In that sense. Uh, I believe we you can even use your what you call SQL Workbench. So I had done it 2-3 years back. I had used SQL Workbench. Okay, for that. So it's not like you can only do it on platform. I myself had used SQL Workbench for the same. So yes, you can do it. Okay, for running SQL queries. Was that your doubt? I myself have done it. It's just that configuring will take some time. Okay, by time I mean you will have to see some settings that need to be done in Workbench. But yes, in Workbench you can do it. Okay, if you want, you can connect with me afterwards on LinkedIn, and maybe maybe I will have a guide with me available. I would have written it 2 years back, and maybe I can share that with you. But yes, to answer your doubt, yes, you can do the same thing locally in Workbench also, and it would work. Is that your doubt? Anything else? Anand says Azure Data Studio you can use. So there are many things. I think Sai Kumar was talking something. Even Anand's approach is fine. You can use that as well as you can use that as well. Okay. Sai Kumar says what else to cover in the next 1 hour? No, just this one part is left over here, which is this data warehouse part that we had mentioned. So as I declared earlier in my webinar, we'll be doing 4 things with respect to lab. First, ingest data with pipeline. Second, using serverless SQL pool to analyze data. Third, using Spark pool to analyze data. Fourth, using dedicated SQL pool to query into a data warehouse. Just these 4 things are left as part of this webinar scope. Okay, but if you have any other doubt or theoretical doubt, you can let me know. But as far as this webinar scope is concerned, we are just going to do these 4 things today. Okay. Prada says Azure Data Studio is for ML only. Absolutely not. You can use it for uh, other tasks as well. Okay, so Azure Data Studio is not just for machine learning. Okay, so it's a much more versatile tool. So Azure Data Studio is like a cross-platform database tool that is primarily used for working with SQL databases, both on premises as well as in the cloud. So it supports various data related tasks and features. Okay, so just to give you an overview of what it does, there are 6 things that you can do. So you can do SQL database management and development, that is one. Okay. Second, there are integrated notebooks. So Azure Data Studio supports Jupyter notebooks. Okay, where you can run your Python code, other code as well. Third is extensions for additional features. So while Azure Data Studio does not solely focus on ML, it can be extended to support various tasks, including machine learning through extensions. Okay. So for instance, there is a machine learning extension there that allows you to manage and deploy machine learning models directly within Azure Data Studio. Fourth is data exploration and visualization. So it offers you that capability as well. Okay. Then fifth is it offers support for multiple data sources. So beyond SQL databases, Azure Data Studio can connect to and interact with other data sources as well, including Azure Data Lake. Then there is something called Custo, Kusto. So it can connect with that as well. So multiple data sources. Sixth, it offers you source control integration. So by that I mean it provides advanced code editing features, including IntelliSense, code navigation, and some source control integration like Git, which is useful for development and data analysis workflow. So to answer questions, short, no, it is not just used for ML. Okay, it can be used for other things as well. So you can write SQL queries against database. There are lots of other things you get that you can do. Fine. I hope your doubt is clear. If at all you are mentioning something else, please let me know. Okay. So Anand has a doubt over here. So Anand says, can you please give a overview of or low level overview of the lookup activity in Azure Synapse Analytics, like what it does and for what purpose we use this lookup activity? Yes, certainly. So the lookup activity, Anand, is a data integration feature, I should say. Okay, let me mention it over here. Let me mention it. Lookup activity in Azure Synapse. So this is Anand's doubt. So it is a data integration feature. Okay. And it is basically used to retrieve a data set from a connected data source. So let's dive into more detail. Okay. So what it does. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's dive into its detail over here. So let me give a heading. What it does. So first it retrieves data. Okay, first it retrieves data. So the primary function of the lookup activity is to retrieve a data set from a data store. So the primary job of lookup activity, its primary job is to retrieve a data set from a data store. Now this data set, okay, this data set can be a table, it can be a file, or it can also be the result of a query. Okay, it can be anything. Fine. Second thing, so it can fetch either a single row or multiple rows of data. Okay, single or multiple rows of data. This is very important to note over here. It can fetch either a single row or multiple rows of data. However, it's commonly used for retrieving a small amount of data only. Okay. Fine. So it can do that. Then what is the third thing that it will do? It performs a read only operation only. Okay. It only does a read only operation. So it performs a read only operation. It doesn't. Okay. It doesn't modify the data in the source data store. It doesn't modify the data. So it only does read only operation. Fourth, it supports various data sources. It supports various data sources. So it can connect to several data sources such as Azure SQL database, Azure blob storage, Azure table storage, and many others. Okay. Then remember the fifth and last thing, which is that its output will always be in JSON format. Okay. So the output of lookup activity is always in JSON format, which can then be passed on to other activities in the pipeline for further processing. So output of lookup activity will always be in JSON format only. Okay. So this is the basic understanding of what it does. So in a sense, the lookup activity is a versatile tool for retrieving a small data set or specific values from a source data store. So it's primarily used for reading configuration data, parameters, or reference data that inform or control the behavior of other activities in a data pipeline. Okay, so this makes it a fundamental component actually, Anand, in building efficient, dynamic, and condition-driven data integration workflows. Okay, so there's just the low level understanding of what it does. So for example, the use cases, let me mention the use cases over here. So where will you use this? I've mentioned what it does. Let me mention the use cases. So first is parameterization and configuration. Parameterization and configuration. So you can use it to fetch a list of file names to be processed. Okay. It can fetch a list of file names to be processed or any threshold values, let's say, for data validation. Since you are already familiar with the term lookup activity, I would hope that you know that there are parameters, right? And there you can pass some threshold values if you want. Fine. So that is one use case. Okay. So you can also use it for conditional execution. That is second use case. Conditional execution. So in combination with other activities in the pipeline, you can use the lookup activity to implement conditional logic. Okay, to implement conditional logic. So for instance, based on the data retrieved by the lookup, you can then decide whether to proceed with certain operations or take alternative actions. Okay, that is one. So these are some of the use cases. Like that, there are many use cases. This is just the low level overview. Uh, yes, welcome. Anand. If there are any other doubts, you can let me know. I hope I have not missed any doubt in the chat. If I have missed, please let me know. Okay, so this was for Anand. I'll just go ahead and mention it in the chat over here. Okay, fine. Now going ahead, yes, guys. So basically, we had ingested data into Synapse Studio. We had also analyzed data using SQL pool. Now we are doing third thing, which is analyzing data using Spark. Okay. So here we have just read the data over here. It was taking some time. You can see it got executed in 3 minutes, 57 seconds. Okay, fine. So I've read the data and you can see as I declared earlier, same issue that we had in SQL pool, same issue we are having in Spark pool as well. In SQL pool, what was the issue? That the column names were not treated as column names. They were treated as row values, right? So let's go ahead. Let's ensure that that does not happen. So I'll just go ahead and do some changes in the code. I'll just write header equal to true, run my code over here. And you can see that change has been done. Okay, fine. And with respect to Spark Pool, have I mentioned any steps? Have I? Have I? Yes, I have mentioned some. Let me go ahead and mention more. Okay, fine. And this is okay. What we had to do was we had to on comment header equal to true part. So that part I'll mention over here. Okay, fine. Now let me do one thing in SQL pool. What did we do? Anybody remembers after reading the data, what else we did in SQL pool? We tried to analyze it. How? What did we do? Anybody remembers? There was some group by operation that we had performed on what? Just to give you a hint, we had performed a group by operation. On what we had performed? We had performed group by category, correct? Sai Kumar correctly mentions category. Same thing we'll do over here. Okay, same exact thing we'll do. Let me go ahead and let me do that. So I'll just write a code. I'll say df dot group by. I want to group by category column. Category column. Category. And after that, I want to get the count of each products. And then I want to display that count to you guys. Okay, counts of products sold in each category. Let me run it. Let's see. Okay, and here we see the count of products sold in each category over here. This is correct. And now what we'll do is, if you remember there, you had a chart view in SQL pool, you had a chart view, right? Here also we have a chart view, and you're using chart view, you can see. So here also you can do analysis text based as well as chart based or graph based, I should say. Okay, so here also you are doing analysis, as you can see. Right. Let me do one thing. Let me save this Python script. So over here, I'll just call it explore products. And I'll just go ahead and click on publish button to save this Python code or Python script. Okay. And now where will our scripts be shown, guys? Which option should I select on the left hand side to see the scripts, the codes that we have saved? Yes, Yogesh, I'll do that. Till then, anyone can answer this question? I have saved this Python script. Where will I be able to see it on the left hand side? Which option to select? Anybody remembers? Develop option, right? Develop option. You can see here, I can see my Python script. Okay, so earlier we had saved our SQL script and below we have saved our Python script. Okay, with this, my third step is done, guys. Okay, before moving on to the fourth step, there is a doubt one student has. So let's understand this doubt. I have highlighted in the chat for you guys, so you can see it as well. So Yogesh says, can you please explain storage connection difference? Okay, so he has mentioned some connections over here. First, uh, he has mentioned ABFS, okay, then ADL and HTTPS. Okay, so he has mentioned some prefix. Fine, absolutely. Let's understand it. So I will just open up Notepad and let's understand the differences. So first prefix that was mentioned by you, Yogesh, is ABFSS, right? ABFSS. So this is the prefix used in Azure Blob File System Storage. Okay. So now let's understand it in detail. So first, let's talk about service. So this is used for Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, okay, which is built on top of Azure Blob Storage, which is built on top of Azure Blob Storage. So talking about the service in which this prefix is used, it is used in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 service. Okay, what is the purpose? Let's talk about the purpose over here. Okay, talking about the purpose. So this prefix is specifically used for accessing files stored in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 using the Azure Blob File System Driver. In simple words, basically, if you want to access files in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, then the link of that file will have a prefix called this abfss. Okay, so talking about the use case, let's talk about the use case over here. Okay, so guys, this is ideal for big data analytics. This is ideal for big data analytics as it provides a hierarchical namespace. It provides hierarchical namespace and is optimized for large scale data processing workloads. Okay. If you remember, GitHub also follows this hierarchical namespace. So in GitHub, if I open up any link, let me open it up. Let me search in my chat only. I would have posted a GitHub link to get that file, right? Ah, let me open up this, or let me copy and open it over here. So over here, GitHub also follows this hierarchical namespace. Let me open it up. So for example, there's this folder called DP-203 Azure Engineer. Within this, there is another folder called Master. Within this, there is another folder called All Files, right? Like this, there is hierarchy followed over here. For some reason, it's not opening, but fine. I hope you get the understanding, right? Over here, there is a hierarchy being followed. Similarly, in ABFSS prefix also, same hierarchy is followed. Okay, fine. So that is one. All right. Then I think this is about the use case and stuff. Moving on to the second prefix that you mentioned, which is ADL. Okay, this is used in Azure Data Lake. Okay. So talking about the service, this is typically used in, or I should say used for Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. Okay. Then what is the purpose? What is the purpose? So it is used for accessing data. Okay. It is used for accessing data stored in Azure Data Lake Gen 1. Okay. And so yeah, that's the basic difference between ABFSS and ADL. So ABFSS is a link of files stored in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. ADL is a prefix of the link of files that are stored in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. Okay, so that's the basic difference between them. Moving on to HTTPS, right? HTTPS, which is the third prefix that you mentioned. So it stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. So talking about the service where it is used. So it's a general purpose protocol. So general purpose protocol used for accessing Azure Blob Storage and other HTTP/HTTPS based services. Okay, talking about its purpose. Okay, so this is used for secure web-based access to resources stored in Azure Blob Storage and can be used for a variety of other web services, not only just Azure Blob Storage, but other web services as well. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the description of this. So as I said, what are the key differences? The first difference is the storage type, right? So ABFSS is used in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. ADL is used in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. And both are optimized for big data analytics, whereas HTTPS is more general and widely used for accessing Azure Blob Storage. Okay, so that is one storage type. Second, optimization. Optimization. So Azure Data Lake Storage, both Gen 1 and Gen 2, is optimized for performance in big data and analytics scenarios. Whereas Azure Blob Storage is more general purpose cloud storage solution. Okay. Then third is compatibility. Compatibility. So ABFSS is compatible with Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, which offers additional features like hierarchical namespace over standard blob storage. Okay. So yeah, basically these are the differences. This is just the low level overview of each of these three extensions that you mentioned. Okay. If there is any other doubt with respect to any of these extensions, please let me know. Okay. Sai Kumar has a doubt over here. Sai Kumar mentions what is the difference between Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 and Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Fine. Let's understand it in a very simple manner over here. Let's go ahead and let's do that. So let me put it in this way. If I wanted to put it in a simple manner till then, what I'll do is this note that I've made. Let me send it in the chat to Yogesh. Okay, fine. Moving on to Sai Kumar's doubt. So Sai Kumar mentions what is the difference between Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 and Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay, so let's understand. So first, let's understand Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. So what it is? So it is an earlier version. It is a earlier version of Azure Data Lake Storage. It was mainly built it was mainly built for big data analytics. It was mainly built for big data analytics. So what are the features? So it is designed specifically specifically for analytics workloads. Then second feature, it provides hierarchical file system. Okay, hierarchical file system, which is beneficial for big data applications that deal with data in folders and subfolders. Okay, so that is the second feature. Then what is the third feature? So it supports high throughput data scenarios, especially for big data analytics tools. But talking about the limitations, right? So what were the limitations of this? Limitations. So it's basically a standalone service, a standalone service separate from Azure Blob Storage, which means it does not benefit from the same scalability. That means it does not benefit from the same scalability and features of Azure Blob Storage. Okay. And it might be more expensive due to it being a specialized service. It might be more expensive due to being a specialized service. So as far as the use case is concerned, let me talk about its use case. So it is best suited for enterprises that are heavily invested in big data analytics, especially those using Hadoop-based tools and requiring a hierarchical file system. So it is best suited for companies heavily invested in big data analytics. Okay, talking about Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay, so let's talk about Gen 2 now. So Gen 2, what is it? So it is the next generation of Azure Data Lake Storage. It is the next generation of Azure Data Lake Storage. Okay, and it combines the features of Gen 1 with Azure Blob Storage. It combines the features of Gen 1 with Azure Blob Storage. Okay, so what are the features? Uh, so it offers mostly the same features. For first, it offers hierarchical file system, just like Gen 1, okay, which is great for big data analytics. Then it is built on top of Azure Blob Storage. It is built on top of Azure Blob Storage. Okay, so it inherits the advantages of Azure Blob Storage like high scalability, security, and low cost to storage. Okay, so that is the major feature I would say. Okay, so what are the improvements over Gen 1? So the improvements are there is better performance, there is better scalability. Why? Because it is built on top of Azure Blob Storage technology. It is more cost effective as well because of that. So the major difference between the two is just that Gen 1 is not, it was exclusive. It was very separate from Azure Blob Storage. There was no connectivity. Whereas with Gen 2, there is connectivity. Okay, because Gen 2 is in fact built on top of Azure Blob Storage. Okay, so there are many benefits in Gen 2. There is scalability benefit, performance benefit, cost effectiveness benefit. Okay, so yeah, that is the major difference, guys. I will just go ahead and paste the notes in the chat. Okay, fine. And I guess there was another doubt over here. Yogesh mentions which comes when. Okay, so over here Yogesh has mentioned two links. He has mentioned one blob.core.windows.net link. Okay, and then df.core.windows. Okay. So these are endpoints in Azure which are basically used for different types of storage access. Okay. So the first link that you mentioned, buddy, is used for accessing Azure Blob Storage. Second that you mentioned is an endpoint for Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Does that solve your doubt? First is for accessing Azure Blob Storage. Second is for accessing Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay. So was that your doubt? I hope it got answered. Ajinkya says, what is the difference between blob container file system storage and files share file system storage? Okay, let's go ahead and let's understand the difference over here. And we'll try to explain it in simple terms only. Fine. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So let me put it in this way over here. First of all, okay. And Sai Kumar has also mentioned something. We'll look into that as well. Till then, let's solve this doubt that Ajinkya has mentioned. Okay. So let's put it in this way. So first, let me talk about blob container file system storage. Blob container file system storage. Okay. So let me go ahead and show you what it does over here, or not show you. Let me write it down what it does. So what it is, I should say. So this basically refers to Azure files which provide managed, uh, which provides managed file shares in the cloud. Okay. So as far as the structure of it is concerned, it is very similar to a traditional file system on a network drive. Okay, it is very similar to a traditional file system on a network drive. So here you store files and folders within these file shares, and they can be accessed using SMB protocol or NFS protocol. SMB stands for server message block. NFS stands for network file system. Okay, so it once you store your files and folders, uh, then you can access, okay, uh, using SMB protocol and NFS protocol. Okay, so data can be accessed using SMB and NFS protocol. Okay, so what are the use cases? So Azure Files is ideal for scenarios where you need to lift and shift applications that expect a file system interface to the cloud. So it's used for shared file storage, like shared drives in a corporate network, right? So for example, in my company, we have a shared drive, OneDrive. You might be familiar with OneDrive. So in your company, you would have a shared OneDrive folder, right? So Azure Files is similar for that. I mean, it's perfect for that. Okay. So this is one. Moving on to our, or sorry, this is the one that I mentioned is for file system storage. Sorry, up to here this is fine. Let me talk about use case for blob container file system storage. Sorry, forget that OneDrive example. It was for the second storage. But for this first storage, if I talk about use cases, it's typically used for storing large amounts of unstructured data, such as images, videos, audio files. Okay. In fact, this entire thing only is about this second file system. It's about file system storage. Okay. So this refers to Azure Files, which provides managed file shares in the cloud. So it's similar to traditional file system on a network drive. And once you store your files and folders, they can be accessed using SMB and NFS protocol. Talking about the use cases for this one, it's so Azure Files is ideal for scenarios where you need to lift and shift applications that expect a file system interface to the cloud. So it's used for shared file storage, like shared drives in a corporate network, storing configuration files, scripts, and data accessible from multiple virtual machines or applications. So this is one. Okay. What is the second file system storage that you mentioned? The second one was blob container file system storage. So what is it? So let me mention that. So it basically refers to file system within Azure Blob Storage. It refers to file system within Azure Blob Storage. Okay. So here, how is the structure? So it organizes data. It organizes data in something called containers. Okay. And within this containers, you store blobs. Okay. And these blobs can be of different type. For example, text or binary data. Okay. And so on. Fine. So what is the use case of this? So this one is typically used for storing large amounts of unstructured data like images, videos, audio files, backup, log files, okay, and so on. So that is about blob container. Okay. Talking about the key differences, if I talk about the key differences over here, let me talk about the key differences. So blob storage is object based and it is suitable for unstructured data. Whereas file shares are file based and it is suitable for structured file systems. Okay. So blob storage is suitable for unstructured data. File shares are suitable for structured file systems. Then, so that is one. Okay. Blob storage suitable for unstructured data. And file shares is suitable for structured file systems. Okay. Moving on to the second point, which is access protocol. Okay, so access protocol. So in blob storage, you have uh, so blob storage is accessed using HTTP and HTTPS, whereas file shares use SMB or NFS protocols. Okay, whereas file shares use SMB or NFS protocols. Then use case, as I mentioned, blob storage is used for storing large volumes of unstructured data. File share is for scenario requiring traditional file system capabilities in the cloud. Scalability wise, blob storage is highly scalable for massive amounts of data. File shares provide scalability, but it's more traditional. It offers more traditional file storage solutions. Okay, so in some summary, blobs storage is best for large scale unstructured data like media files, backups, and large data sets. Okay, so just to summarize, so this storage is best for what? It is best for large scale unstructured data storage like media files, backups, and large data sets. Whereas file system files, this storage that you mentioned, right? File system storage, it is ideal for migrating existing file-based applications to the cloud. It offers shared file storage as well, additionally. Uh, okay, so yeah, so you can say that OneDrive follows this approach, file system storage. Okay, so OneDrive is a good example of that, where you have shared file storage, right? I mean, you can have a shared folder and your company people can access it. Fine. So yeah, this is the summary of that. So I'm mentioning the summary in the chat, and what I would do is now we'll move on to the lab because 10 minutes are left. So just one part is left, right? So first we had ingested data with a pipeline. Second, we have also used SQL's pool to analyze data. We have also used Spark pool to analyze data. Now just fourth part is left over here. So let's do that. So we'll use a SQL pool to query a data warehouse. So let's do that over here. So what are the steps to do it? So let's go ahead and let's write down the steps over here. So we'll go ahead, we'll write down these steps. Let me mention these steps over here in the chat. Okay, so there are many steps. So the first step, guys, is to go to the Synapse Studio. So let's go there. And there is a manage page over here. And now we'll go to SQL pool section. Okay. And we'll select this SQL pool over here. And fine. The details are fine over here. And let me close it. It's paused. So let me resume it over here. I'll go ahead and resume it. Okay. So now we are using dedicated SQL pool. Previously, we had used the built-in, or as it is called, serverless SQL pool. Now we are using dedicated SQL pool. We have resumed it over here. It will take a few minutes. We can refresh to know the status. We'll just wait. And soon we should be done over here. 9 minutes are left for the session. So within that time, we should be done. Actually, I should have resumed it earlier, but fine, no issues. We have resumed it now. Let's wait. It will take around 2 minutes. Till then, I'll just drink some water and we'll just wait for this resumption to happen. It is still in process. Let's wait. Okay, fine. It's online now. So once my SQL pool is started, what I will do is I'll select the data page over here. And then on the workspace tab, I will expand the SQL databases and verify that this dedicated SQL pool is listed. Okay. And you can say it's listed over here. So this is good. Fine. Let's expand this database. So the fourth step over here is to expand it. And then in the tables folder, okay. And in fact, not let me not expand it. Here there is this menu. So from that, in fact, I will need to expand it, right? That's how I'll be able to see the individual table. I want to see this one table called fact internet sales table. I want to see that table over here. Fact internet sales. Yes, here it is. Let me click on this actions icon over here. New SQL script. Select top 100 rows. Okay, fine. And over here, I have a default query. Fine. Instead of that, what we'll do is we'll replace it with our own query. So let me replace it with our own query. I'm mentioning the query in the chat for you guys. So the sixth step is to replace it with our own query. So we have our own query over here. Fine. And we have our own query. Let me just go ahead and let me run it. And here what we are doing is we have written the code to return the quantity of each product sold by year and month. What we are doing, we are just returning the quantity of each product sold by year and month. Okay, I repeat, quantity of each product sold by year and month. Okay, so here you can see in first year of opening and in January month, this product was sold 2 times. Okay, then in first year of opening January month, second product was sold 19 times, so on. Fine. Okay. And this it. Over here we have analyzed the data using dedicated SQL pool. Okay. What I will do over here is let me just rename this query. I'll call it aggregate product sales. And let me use the publish button to save the script. And once we have saved this script should be shown where? Guys, which option to select on the left hand side? One last question for you in this webinar. The saved scripts will be shown in which option? Which option to select on the left hand side? Which one? Develop, right? As Sai Kumar and Anand mentions, develop option. And here you will be able to see that script over here. Fine. Once this is done, guys, once we have completed all of our tasks, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we will delete the Azure resources that we have created because we don't want to incur more cost. So I'll go to home, resource group section, and we'll try to search for that resource group DP-203. This is the one that we created. Let me open it up and I'll just go ahead and delete the resource group. So all the resources that we created inside of it, whether it was Synapse Workspace, dedicated SQL pool, Spark pool, built-in pool is inside Synapse only. Then there was a storage account, right? A data lake storage account. So all of those will be deleted in one go. If we delete the resource group, all the resources in that resource group will be deleted in one go. Let me delete that resource group over here. Just for confirmation, it asks me to, if I'm sure to delete this, then enter the resource group name again. I'll enter it again and click on delete option. And that's it. This resource group will be deleted and now I won't be incurred any cost going forward. Okay, so that was the scope of our webinar. I just wanted to show you how you can perform these data engineering tasks on the Azure platform. Like this, there are many labs that you can perform. Okay. Uh, this was just one basic lab. Due to time, we could just perform these basic tasks. But I hope your doubts got cleared. Okay, and we'll have to end the session. I hope your doubts got cleared. If at all you have more doubts, you can always connect to our social media handles and ask our doubts over there. We'll definitely answer your doubts. So, Archie, I'm done with my session. You can take it forward.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. I hope all the participants found today, which was hosted by Smith, sir. If you have any question or queries, please feel free to ask, as our speaker will provide you best answer with insight. So, guys, if you have any question, you can ask on chat box. Also, I shared the feedback form. So, guys, go and fill this feedback form. We value your feedback to continuously improve our webinar. Also, guys, we are coming with Gen AI Spark in this month. So, interested participants go and register themselves. Please note that registration is mandatory to join this webinar.